you, man? Do I know you?
Jews are running society. Women need to shut the hell up. Blacks need to be in prison. SpongeBob.
Hold the phone, folks. I'm getting an important news flash from Mr. Krabs. Go ahead, Mr. K.
I'm getting fired by the Jews.
What a freaking frog game! This stupid.
Oh my god, they're retarded.
What do you mean you don't agree with me? Do you know who you're dealing with?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Hope you're having a wonderful night tonight. We have so many wacky things to talk about. I know we did a 5-hour stream yesterday covering a solo topic, Tucker versus Huckabee, which was super fun, very informative. But today we have a menagerie of nonsense to get into. Kel-Tec ripping off Stuff and Things. They came out with a pretty hard trailer. The trailer was actually fairly well done. I recommend you guys go and watch it. We unfortunately can't watch it on YouTube because of their retarded rules when it comes to streaming and watching videos on their platform. We have some good gun news. We have some bad gun news. We have some interesting new ammunition for anti-drone purposes being developed that apparently is very effective and not too expensive. On top of that, we have a eco-terrorist, white supremacist, I guess eco-terrorist trying to take out a power station in Nevada, failing, and then signing off, so to speak. We have a interesting story, of course, about the Mar-a-Lago attempted, I don't know what the guy was planning to do, but the guy who attempted to get inside of Mar-a-Lago and then ended his life. We have Gavin Newsom, black posting, digital blackface, which should be really fun. Believe me, he's just as dumb as all the other blacks in the audience. Trust me, bro. Or something like that. I find that very funny. We have a bunch of silly stories. We have Mexico starting out a civil war. And maybe tonight we'll get the bombing of Iran during the show, right? It was supposed to happen tonight. So tomorrow morning, right? Because it's like 6 o'clock over there right now. So any minute now, we should be hearing of the bombs dropping. And then, of course, we have black pill stuff or rage bait to end the stream. But before we do, oh no, GB Gun says, I just got my new Kel-Tec back from customer service. The gun lasted 2 rounds the first time. Yeah, you know, their designs are novel. I didn't say good. Their designs are novel, very novel. So, but before we get into that, Richard, how was your night going, sir?
Good, good. I enjoyed that stream last night. That was interesting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun to do just a deep dive on a single topic and listen to 2 very interesting personalities going back and forth. I did find a clip, somebody sent it to me, about Mr. Mike Huckabee calling for the deaths of people who leaked the WikiLeaks stuff. So it is weird that he called for people to be killed for the WikiLeaks, right? For that classified data leak versus him celebrating the Jonathan Pollard, right, situation. So it seems that there's a bit of an inconsistency there between who he allows to be a traitor and who he doesn't.
It is an odd contrast.
Yeah, I wonder what the difference is. I wonder why. It's almost like one benefits him and the other doesn't. But we got to start out with something a little bit lighthearted, okay? If you have ever wondered, how do I get my batteries to taste better? Well, let me tell you, Aimpoint USA has the video for you. They needed you to know, and maybe for some actual practical purpose. But, you know, if I hate it. I haven't added 2032s to my cereal for a while now, ever since they switched the coating. It's been awful. But if you've been looking to spice up your breakfast, now with this simple cleaning process, you can be back in business, baby.
In recent years, coin-based batteries such as the CR2032 now include a bittern coating, a safety measure designed to discourage children from swallowing them. This change aligns with Reese's Law, which promotes safer designs for consumer products. While this coating is effective for safety, it can sometimes interfere with the battery's electrical contact in devices, leading to poor performance. To remove the coating and ensure optimum performance, simply use an alcohol wipe and gently clean the coating from the battery.
I'm going to do this to all my batteries, not just the ones that are going in optics, because I mean, come on. That bitter coating ruins the experience, makes it miserable. I mean, come on. Jeez. But I'm so glad that Aimpoint actually invested the time into solving this widespread issue that we've been having with their batteries, or with all batteries, right? Because of these stupid laws, because toddlers yearn for the batteries, all right? You know, it's kind of like leftist protesters. Eventually, if we go through enough cycles, we will get a leftist protester that can take a 9mm to the forehead. We just have to keep trying, right? It's just evolution. And it was the same thing with babies, right? We have to keep trying, and eventually their stomach liners will be able to handle the acid of a battery. We just have to keep trying. So this is another one of the battery control activists out there ruining your flavor experience, trying to stop you from going to Flavor Town on your batteries. Now, I actually never knew that this could cause issues with connectivity, because I would imagine, you know, the whole point of a battery is to transfer energy from one place to another, and then you put on a coating so children don't eat it, and then it stops allowing it to do the, you know, connectivity thing or transfer of energy. So that's interesting. I never knew that was a problem, but thank you, Aimpoint, for bringing this to my mind. And yes, when I saw somebody post this, I thought this was a joke. Surely Aimpoint did not invest time and energy into this widespread issue.
To dry completely before installing it back into your optic. With the coating removed, your CR2032 battery will make better contact, improving performance and longevity in your optic.
I wonder if it's just a problem, just a problem with aim point. Central Sands for 5 says, wait, so eating these aren't a power up? I thought it was. It always made me feel really, it's like a potion in The Witcher, right? You take it, you get the benefits, but then there's like toxicity, so you got to make sure that your toxicity doesn't get too high, or else you start taking damage. So personally, I maxed out at like 3 2032s before I would start having any side effects. But you got to make sure that your toxicity level stays in check. But apparently, it was an issue with aim points. I wonder if it's just how they set up their battery terminals. That's interesting. Huh? Did not know that. Anyways, thank you, Aimpoint. I appreciate that minute-long video that has, let me see, I think the top comment is actually Hops on this video. Let me see. Yeah, Hop, mouth-watering content. Thank you for the informational piece, Aimpoint. We could not have lived without that. Now, we're going to go bad news first, because Minnesota and protesters goes hand in hand, or bullet in forehead, however they say that. This comes from AmmoLand. Minnesota advances semi-auto firearm ban, allowing warrantless home inspection of gun owners. Yeah, I love warrantless home inspections. You might as well call that breaking and entering. I also do warrantless home inspections of my neighbors, just when I feel like it. If I need something and I just need to get in there and, steal a 20, I need a TV, I need something else, I just do warrantless home inspections, right? You could call me a warrantless home inspection officer. I'm pretty sure that's a real position now. Super cool. Love that. Let me go ahead and read this.
Violation of the Fourth Amendment, at least, but
I really don't think these people care. Minnesota lawmakers also, they imported a bunch of these people to vote blue. Now these people vote blue, and now your state's gone. Congratulations. Minnesota lawmakers are advancing legislation that would ban possession of nearly every semi-automatic firearm in the state, creating what gun rights advocates warn constitutes one of the nation's most aggressive attempts to criminalize commonly owned weapons, while imposing unprecedented warrantless home inspections on gun owners who attempt to comply. House File 3433, or 343, which anything with 343 in the name is just going to do terrible. And it's Senate Companion 3654, introduced by DFL. Can't say that. Legislators in the 2026 Minnesota legislative session, go away pop-ups, carry the title Possession of Semi-Automatic Military-Style Assault Weapons Banned and Criminal Penalties Provided. The measure are part of a broader gun control package that includes companion bills and separate magazine capacity restrictions. Of course. Let's see. So the legislation dramatically expands Minnesota's existing statutory definition of semi-automatic military-style assault weapons. Wow, that's all of the buzzwords, dude. Military-style assault weapon. To cover semi-automatic rifles that accept a detachable magazine, and not even that, and have one or more features, including pistol grips. So a lever gun with a pistol grip, pump action with a pistol grip. No, thank you. Or adjustable or telescoping or thumbhole stocks. Thumbhole stocks, really? Okay. Flash suppressors. No M1As. All right. No minis. Barrel shrouds. Barrel shrouds. Why? Somebody, I know obviously this is just an exercise in futility, but I would like somebody to explain to me why a barrel shroud would be more dangerous than no barrel shroud, right?
Well, Tucker Carlson asked a representative precisely that at one point in time, and she was worried about the barrel shroud because it's the shoulder thing that goes up.
Right. Threaded barrels or forward grips. Any semi-automatic centerfire or rimfire rifle or rimfire, all right, with a fixed magazine holding more than 10 rounds would also be banned, along with semi-automatic pistols with detachable magazines. Wow, really? Now, there's no way, right? Surely, there's no way this could hold up to any sort of real scrutiny, right? Certainly, it's just not possible, you would think. Holding more than 10 rounds would also be banned, along with semi-automatic pistols with detachable magazines and specific features, shotguns with various characteristics and parts or conversion kits from which such weapons could be assembled. The Minnesota Gun Owners Club Caucus bluntly summarized the scope, stating this covers basically almost every single semi-automatic rifle. The bill makes it unlawful to transfer, own, or possess any firearm meeting the new definition. Violations would be a felony, punishable by up to 5 years in prison and a $25,000 fine. So no grandfather clause, no banning the sale, but this is banning the possession. So the state of Minnesota, this is probably this is probably 1 million felons overnight. Probably 1 million felons overnight, if not more. This could be 2 million felons overnight. Yesterday it was legal. Today it's not.
Would that be
Tim
Waltz? Would he be one of the felons?
He would. Yes, he would have to. I mean, are they giving you some sort of amnesty period, some sort of grace period before they break down your door? Oh, wait, no. So a limited grandfathering position exists for firearms lawfully owned before January 1st, 2027, but the conditions are extraordinarily restrictive. Owners must apply for a state-issued certificate of ownership from the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension by May 1st, 2027. Yes, apply for your permit to just keep owning what you've already owned for decades, right? I mean, apply for a permit for a fee, right? Pay us to keep owning whatever it is that you own, and probably it's an individual fee as well.
From the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. That's so dystopian.
Yes. They must allow warrantless law enforcement inspections of their homes to verify safe storage with no limit on frequency. So this is like being in the WADA or USADA drug pool, right? Where you literally sign over the rights to your privacy so that they can drug test you anytime that they feel like. But in this case, we're going to go into your home anytime we feel like and do an inspection to make sure you're storing these guns in a manner that is legal, that we've allowed you to do because, of course, you've signed up for this permit. Wild. They must renew the certification every 3 years. So again, an old man who has a bunch of guns, he pays for it. If he can't afford the fee, they take him away or they arrest him, right? They must renew the certification every 3 years. Also, they can only possess the firearm on property they own or control at a licensed firing range. So this would just, I feel like, all right, I'm going to Fed post a little bit. Okay. It is such an obvious violation of the Constitution, of just, you could even say generic human decency or human rights, all right, that anyone who would even suppose such a bill like this should immediately receive tar and feather, preferably hot tar and lots of feathers, right? Immediately, for even proposing something as egregious as this. It should just be, proposing a bill like this should be a crime in and of itself, all right? And I just wish it was a crime so that we could dispense justice upon them. What an evil, disgusting, dystopian government does this to its own people, right? And again, Minnesota is very purple, and there's enough people that they've imported to swing the vote, you know, even if they don't care do Somalis care one way or the other about guns? Probably not, all right? As long as they're getting their scam money from the government, they probably don't care. But the politicians will use them for political capital, right? They get the votes, they push this stuff through, and suddenly good Americans, actual Americans, get punished for their kindness, for allowing these people to live among you, for allowing these politicians to get away with it. Now, would this be fought in the courts for years? Of course. Would it actually pass any level of scrutiny? Probably not. But again, just the idea that this thing could even be supposed, the people responsible for proposing it should be dealt with in a legal manner, of course. But I just wish the legal ramifications for them proposing this were much more strict. Okay. Well, on the other side of things, a little bit less blackpilling. GOA, which, you know, big gun organization, donate to them now, or else your Second Amendment rights are going to be gone, of course. Legislators in West Virginia introduced a GOA drafted bill to sell transferable post-86 ban machine guns to law-abiding citizens. Transfers under SB 1071 would be legal under federal law, including the National Firearms Act of 1934 and the Hughes Amendment. Now, regular Virginia, East Virginia, fringe and gay. West Virginia, pretty based. Not the best, but pretty based, all right? So a bill to amend, blah, 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 let's see. The Second Amendment of the United States Constitution declares that a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms should not be infringed. Yes, yes, yes. Term arms, armor defense. I want to just get to your far more explicit federal counterpart. All right, I'm just trying to read through their argumentation to see where it. Here we go. The National Firearms Act of 1934 and Gun Control Act of 1968, as amended, permit state governments to transfer machine guns to law-abiding citizens. Specifically, federal law permits a transfer to or by or possession by or under the authority of the United States or any department or agency thereof, or a state or a department, agency, or political subdivision thereof. Likewise, the Gun Control Act provides that its restrictions shall not apply with respect to the transportation, shipment, receipt, possession, or importation of any firearm ammunition imported for, sold to, or issued for the use of the United States or any department or agency thereof, or any state or any department, agency, or political subdivision thereof. It is in the public interest of the state of West Virginia and its people that American citizens be armed and better able to assist in the defense of the state and to resist tyranny, using bearable firearms commonly used in modern warfare. And it moves on. So essentially they're saying that the state itself, through their legal justification, if you want to go through and read 1 through 7 here, is that the state itself can sell the machine guns to the citizens, right? Legally, and that's kosher under federal law. But you can't do that from private citizen to private citizen or from FFL or SOT to private citizen. But if the state itself sells you a machine gun under its own authority, then that is kosher. So how does that work? Do we have... Wait, how does this work? Okay, I have questions. So we don't really like the idea of like state-run food, services, or like state-run really much of anything, right? They tend to be very bad at a lot of the things that they do. Not everything, but tend to be bad at a lot of the things that they do. But how do you guys feel about a state-run gun store that has the legal authority to sell you a machine gun?
State-run armory? I mean,
basically. Yeah, it's a state-run gun store that has the legal authority to sell you machine guns.
So it's going to go one of two ways, right? It's either going to be amazing or it's going to be DMV ad ammo.
Well, of course. But I mean, even the idea, like, would you put up with it to go buy a 3-position, like an MP50, which we're going to talk about in just a minute? Like, okay, you're going to waste 3-4 hours of your day and pay a premium price, but it's cheaper than spending 20 grand on gun broker for some 86 machine gun, right?
Right. And then I would actually be able to get some things like you said, the MP50 or the Vector or some other things that.
Well, right, and think about it from a state's perspective. Like, if I was running it like a business, I would just charge like a 20% premium on top of things that on top of the normal markup, right? So if I'm getting a Vector, retail for 900, selling it for 12, I'd sell it for 15, fully auto, right? So you'd make more money at it, right? It would be a business venture for the state, and also gives its citizens, the citizens of your state, the right to possess full auto firearms under the authority of the state, which is like, okay, I mean, it's a mixture of based and cringe, right? So the needle is just bouncing back and forth between maximum cringe and maximum based.
I mean, I know quite a few people who would even be all right with a slight raise in the tax of the sales tax and the firearms tax if they were able to buy.
Well, I don't even think it would need to be like I would argue against a carte blanche tax on everything. I would just make the machine guns themselves, the things that people actually want that they can't get at a normal gun store, I would just make the prices of those higher to justify the cost of administration, the stores themselves, paperwork and the other things, right? So I would just make that itself. I wouldn't want regular ammo and guns to become more expensive because 10% of people want to go and buy a machine gun, right?
No, that's not what I was saying. I was saying at a raise in the tax of the firearm itself, of the machine gun, because
but it
you're
would
already
just be a
paying
premium.
that 13%.
Well, right, but it would just be it would just be a markup. I don't know what you could frame it as a tax, but they could just mark up the firearms, right? You could call it a tax if you want, but I would just call it doing business. It works out the same way to me, whether you call it a tax or whether you call it a markup, because they're selling you a product, right? It all goes the same place. So, it could be a flat, okay, $200 service fee, right? And people would pay that, right? Would I pay an extra $200 for a 3-position lower? Yeah, probably, because that honestly, that covers the cost of a super safety. Sure. Right. And a true 3-position lower will be way better than almost any super safety on the market, and allow you to buy like true auto sears, aftermarket 3-position triggers. Like, imagine being able to buy the guys with 3-position triggers, right?
Or just being able to buy registered drop-in auto sears.
Yeah, but again, that's fine for all that. But if I'm buying a nice product, I want it to be like a nice product that does the thing that I want it to do. So, yeah, it's a cool concept. Is it actually going to go through? No idea. More importantly, is the ATF going to be cool with it? We'll see about that. And especially, we only have the midterms are coming up. We got about 8 months left before the midterm, so we'll see how things are looking at after that. But I would be a little dour right now about our prospects for a red government, even if red government's not good, but a more pro-gun government in 2028. I don't know why belt feds wouldn't be on that table, because if it's anything in the 1934, the Hughes Act, or the 1968 or 1986, I don't know why it wouldn't include belt feds and open bolts, right? Because it would essentially make you, the individual, an SOT holder, essentially, right? And I don't know how West Virginia looks politically, if they're looking to switch teams in 26. I'm not really sure how the midterms are going to look. If we go to a war with Iran in the next 2 days, that's going to drastically change the outlook for 2026, especially if it goes poorly, right? If it goes great and it's a massive success, for what these people want to be successful, then maybe it'll look different. So I don't know if anyone can really accurately predict the midterms, because we still have so much time between now and then. We have a lot of time between now and the midterms where things could go really good, things could go really bad. Maybe Trump will try and pull something out of his proverbial butt to galvanize his base into action, but his base has not been happy with him, and rightfully so. All right, let's switch gears here, and let's talk about the hot topic for the last 5 years or so. Is what do we do about all those drones, these pesky, obnoxious drones flying around, blowing up our tanks, blowing up our soldiers and our horses and our vehicles and all sorts of things? Well, the Naval Sea Command Systems, their Crane division, has a new alternative that they are showing off in a bunch of different calibers, a bunch of different styles for their drone killer cartridges. And they're claiming, through this article, a 92% kill rate in demonstration event. So they're actually demoing, and let me see if I can make this bigger for you guys. That's what she said. That's what he said, or something like that. So that we can show you guys kind of what we're dealing with here. So these are some of the cartridges in different designs. So we have like a weird long duckbill penetrator multi-part projectile. We have the hollow point, the smaller, obviously 5.56 here on the bottom, which is a similar design. And then the oddball one is like the buckshot in a line, the 30 cal buckshot, where it looks like you have 3 ball bearings inside of a, you got a brass, or not a brass, probably a copper base, some sort of steel shell that holds them together until they're outside of the barrel or outside of the suppressor, whatever it might be. And then you got multiple projectiles flying through the air. I believe this is the 30 cal. And then up top, we have the 50 cal, which is going to have bigger projectiles and more of them, of course. So you still have to snipe a moving drone, but your hit probability probably goes way up, because we've seen, if you watch enough war footage, you will see them shooting drones out of the sky with regular ammo. right? Which is incredibly difficult. But something like this would 3x your hit probability.
Well, some of those guys had started pulling their own bullets, and they were taking heat shrink tubing and BBs and making their own projectiles. And this is just, the natural progression of things is what this comes out.
Oh yeah, is on doing the same thing, doing that concept on an industrial scale, right? Trying to increase the hit probability on a moving target, a fast moving target. Because like if I had an M4 and I have to hit a moving target, I have 30 rounds in the mag. That's really tough. But if I have these projectiles, and let's say I can do 90 projectiles in the same time frame, right? And I get a better spread, and I can just get lucky. There's just more chances for something to go right. Or you can just use a shotgun. No, I think shotguns still have their place, but the point of this is I can have a magazine of this at all times that I can drop in my gun at any point in time, so that if I need to go to drones, I can do this, and then I have normal magazines for, long range or standard engagements, right? And I can switch to them on the fly, which is very important. Versus a shotgun, which is like, yeah, you can go between slugs and buck and whatever anti-drone rounds or something, but it's not as versatile as having dedicated anti-drone rounds and then your standard M855 behind it, right? But now let's go ahead and go through the article here. So, Crane Industries Naval Surface Warfare Center, Crane Division, has designed and developed the drone killer cartridge DKC, Donkey Kong Country, baby. That's right. Bringing it old school with Donkey Kong Country over here. A new and cost-effective family of ammunition for the warfighter that increases probability of hit and kill against drone threats while inherently reducing collateral damage. I mean, maybe they're not going to be as ballistically efficient, of course, so they're not going to go as far. But, I mean, you're still throwing more projectiles out into the ether. We're enabling extended range shotgun style effects through automatic rifles and machine guns with nothing more than an ammunition change, said Brian Hoffman, Man Portable Weapons Chief Engineer at NSWC. DKC is an ammunition technology that disperses a cluster of projectiles upon firing for rifles, automatic rifles, and machine guns with far greater range than a conventional shotgun. That's also true. These effects increase the probability of hit and kill against unmanned aerial system threats in a way that also reduces the risk of collateral damage for any projectiles that don't impact the target. During a recent demonstration at Camp Atterbury in Edinburgh, Indiana, DKC achieved a 92% success rate against drone targets. Colonel Andrew Konicki, Program Manager of Ground-Based Air Defense for Program Executive Officer Land Systems, my gosh, the acronyms here, insane, said the Marine Corps plans to broadly leverage DKC for its enhanced capabilities and implement at the operator level. Now, that's what I like about this. They're alleging that there's no additional changes needed other than the ammunition itself. So that means that the pressures are going to be similar to standard, M193, M855, M855A1. So it still runs the guns in the exact same way. Obviously, as you see it here, it's in belt-fed systems. They're linked together. So I imagine that it is going to greatly increase the effectiveness for a belt-fed system where you have, hundreds or thousands of rounds on tap for deterring drone threats, and going to make that a lot more effective for a 30 or a 50 or something like that. And of course, 5.56 for your average soldier as well. All right, the drone killer cartridge represents a pivotal shift in countering the pervasive threat of enemy drones. This type of ammunition provides an immediate and significant improvement to our kinetic kill capabilities. Kinetic kill capabilities would be a good metal band name. Or just the kinetic kill. By using standard issue weapons that are already in the hands of Marines. The collaborative work between NSWC, Crane, and the Marine Corps has positive impacts across the ecosystem of homeland defense, as well as self-protection and for our forward deployed troops in harm's way. With DKC, we are adding capability well beyond conventional options while also bending the cost curve for neutralizing drone threats, particular to the individual Marine. Crucially, its design reduces the risk of collateral damage, making it a dominant and urgently needed solution that will fundamentally change the fight for every Marine. Unmanned systems are reshaping tactics, challenging established operations, and creating life-threatening threats, yes, of course, for warfighters globally. To counter this rapidly evolving and critical threat, the department is aiming to improve overall defense capabilities. By design, DKC provides broader terminal coverage on and around the intended target, which increases effectiveness against stationary and moving drones by helping offset imperfect aim. There's good reason why bird hunters use shotguns. We've applied a similar philosophy to killing drones while amplifying overall performance. DKC sub-projectiles exit the barrel at velocities typical of centerfire rifle ammunition. Well, they have to be, right? I mean, unless the weights are way off. Boondock Ballistician in chat, hope you're having a good night, by the way, says, I effing hate this ammo so much, and I wish I wasn't under an NDA to say why. Well, my guess would be, thank you for pulling that up, would be that it doesn't work as good as they're claiming, or it causes additional issues. But what would be your solution then, Boondock, as a ballistician yourself? All right, if I was to pay you $10 million to head up, or $10 billion, all right, while we're in Fantasyland, to cook up a solution for drones for the average infantryman, what would you do different?
Did you just tell her to get into the kitchen and cook something up?
Metaphorically, yes. Metaphorically, I did ask her to get into the kitchen and cook something up for me. Yes.
Okay.
Those velocities and associated energies far exceed shotgun capabilities and serve to extend effective range while offering more devastating effects on target. DKC provides an improved defense capability at an affordable price, ensuring versatility. I don't know how affordable it's going to be. I mean, it's a copper base, an outer shell. Right. See, but here's the thing, Boondock. The advantage of this is I don't have to carry a separate weapon because everybody already has an M4 and they can just have a magazine of more expensive ammo, or 2 magazines of more expensive ammo, versus telling every infantryman, by the way, you're also going to be carrying a shotgun and 20 rounds in a pouch somewhere. Right. So from a portability perspective, from a weight perspective, from a, gear management perspective, I would much rather, I mean, if it works, right? Great. That's, granting the proposition that the ammo actually works in the first place. I would rather just have a couple magazines of this on hand than a separate shotgun, pouch for the ammo and the ammo itself. Right. Also hits their 92% and doesn't destroy your rifle cans. Yeah, is the average Marine, though, running a suppressor? Because this is for, the average Marine, your average infantryman. Is the average bro running a suppressor currently? I'm not fully aware of what exactly they're running to begin with, so maybe that's a improper question. But are they all running suppressors? Because, yeah, I imagine it would have the high possibility of screwing up a suppressor. Every infantryman gets a CAC NT4? Really? Okay. They're all running them. Okay. All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. See, I didn't know. All right. I didn't know. I apologize. Jeez. Not an infantryman. I don't, ask Trench for that. Okay. That's not my area of expertise. Light Spore.
10 minutes to get through ad reads to get whatever information.
Oh my gosh. Light Spore. Relax. Shoot, I lost my place. Naval Innovation, Science and Engineering. Nice. Nice. Funding a Department of Homeland Security Marine Corps investment because use of DKC involves only an ammunition change. Timeline to initial fielding can be accelerated as it does not require qualification of a new weapon system. Yeah, there's probably advantages in terms of dispersal as well, right? Because especially if it's the military and you have to do everything really gay. And so if you're issuing a shotgun to everybody has to qual on it and then have their own separate practice with it versus just using a gun that they've already, has passed inspection, has passed muster, and they've qualled with. As a beneficial side effect of that approach, DKC eliminates the needs for warfighters to carry excess weight of an additional weapon dedicated to countering drones, right? Which is what Boondock solution would be. When you compare the cost it takes to kill a drone using DKC versus some of the other solutions that are being employed, it's a night and day difference, said Hoffman. The projectiles used are in segmented DKC and pelletized DKC are both inert, meaning there is no energetic material in the projectile itself, of course. The separation mechanisms are purely mechanical, and the cartridge, case, primer, and propellant are common to other ammunition types already in production. These attributes combine to help keep it Elegantly simple, yet effective while ensuring low-cost producibility. Now, I am actually interested because that is one of the problems with this style of ammunition is if you get a premature separation outside of the barrel, inside of the can, especially for the ones that are like, whether it's this like plastic stuff on the outside or this looks, stainless steel. But if you get this stuff coming apart inside of your suppressor and then you blow up a suppressor and it takes your weapon down, probably a drawback. I am
If
curious
it's
about
anything like
the
slap, it's going to be an aluminum case, aluminum
Yeah.
sabo.
light spore. My gosh, why do I have to read this light spore? Yeah, but I'm also interested in like the stacked ammunition, right? Because this stuff also comes apart mid-flight.
That's
Right.
duplex ammo. That's been around for quite some time.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I'm definitely gonna lose my place now. Shoot, did I not have access? Do I need to reload the page? Let me reload the page and see if I can get these documents up.
I like Jim Eagle's idea.
Helmet mounted, 12 gauge side by side, great spread. Only concern is long term cost for neck related disability claims. That's right. Yeah. I mean, I get the idea for the ammunition 100% when it comes to cost, when it comes to size and weight constraints, when it comes to training constraints, and like if I put myself out in the field and I'm like, oh shoot, there's a drone coming. Let me grab my shotgun and go to that versus just utilizing the weapon that's already in my hands.
So, a lot of the soldiers in Russia have started fielding. It's basically an underbarrel 12 gauge that has a slightly longer barrel than what the other ones were. Some of the other ones were rather short, but this one has slightly longer barrel because they need the extra velocity and stuff. And they're using a bismuth or a tungsten shot.
Now, I'm actually curious though, because let's grant the position that this does not work well in suppressors. But if I was deployed to a place where I had to cross an open field and we knew that there might be drones in the area, wouldn't I just, because I know I'm using this ammo, wouldn't I just take the suppressor off while I'm doing the movement? And then the next time I have an opportunity to put the suppressor back on, I put the suppressor back on when I'm not going up against drones?
Yeah, most of the time they're coming in so fast you're not going to have time to take the...
Well, no. Like, if I am in an area where I am worried about drones, like going across a field, trying to move to an objective, trying to move to a building, right? Because that's usually where these guys get hit, is like moving from building to building when they're outside. But so if I'm doing a movement and I know I'm doing a movement where I'm going to encounter drones or have a probability of encountering drones, wouldn't I just take the suppressor off? Put it in a pouch. And then when we make it to the destination, then we put the can back on.
I guess.
Well, no, and modern M4s, I mean, are absolutely gassed to just run. So, I mean, I hope the ammunition would still run when unsuppressed, because, I mean, maybe the pressures are a little bit different. But, I mean, that seems like the simplest solution, right? If I'm worried about destroying my can, I just take the can off because I'm shooting at a drone, my position's already been given away if it's a thermal drone, right? I just need to take out the drone. So, yeah. All right. So, the intent with our ammunition was simply to give operators a better chance of killing drones with cost-effective products that can be used in existing weapons. If you aren't the world's best shot or don't have a lot of experience engaging aerial threats, your odds go up immediately with DKC. As a bonus, and since these products are already mature, you won't have to wait years for product development in order to access DKC and put it to good use. Hoffman said the DKC team and NSWC Crane family are excited and motivated to fast-track these products to the field and fleet to help meet urgent needs, not just for the Navy, Marine Corps, and DHS, but for the other U.S. military services, government agencies, and select foreign partners. Yeah, I mean, I think that while there might be some kinks here or there, I kind of like it as a solution. I think the Western solutions are often more elegant and finicky, and Eastern solutions are usually shotgun, or whatever it might be. They're usually much more mechanically simple, but they're bulkier, they're heavier, and they just technically do the same thing. Yeah. All right. Let's see. So, I mean, that's cool. I like the technology. if they work out the kinks, if they make it actually do the thing it's supposed to do and doesn't destroy suppressors, or people just take their suppressors off. But is what it is. Actually, this is kind of cool. Let me show up this. So they have a picture of one of the cartridges and a drone after it's been taken down. NSWC Crane has unveiled the Drone Killer cartridge, a revolutionary technology, 92% success, blah, 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 blah. But here you can see kind of a picture of it and one of the, ball-bearing projectiles ripping through it, or in this case, the flat copper ones. Interesting idea, okay? Interesting idea. And I hope it works. I hope it works for him. But speaking of interesting ideas, you know what? I like Kel-Tec. I think they make some interesting things. The RFBs and RDBs have always been appealing products, but at the same time, I think that they make some of the dumbest things on the planet. When they originally brought out, what did they call it originally? Was it the P50?
Yeah.
Yeah, the P50. When they originally brought out the P50, it was really close to what people wanted. It was small, it was compact, it took P90 magazines. It's like, okay, that's cool. But no stock? Just a pistol? Like, you're not going to make an SBR version or a pick rail version or something where I can actually put a stock on the back? You're not going to allow it to, accept, aftermarket fire control units or AR-15 style pistol grips. Sorry, you're not going to do any of that. That's really lame. But of course, the aftermarket being the aftermarket, Stuff and Things actually did all of those things. So they made an aluminum lower for the P50 that had a 1913 rail on the back, so you can put on any folding stock or brace that you wanted to. Right? They made a 3-position or an FRT for it. Right? So that you could do the fun giggle switch thing with 5.7, which is kind of cool. It's just a direct blowback 5.7, but still 5.7 doesn't have that much recoil. So it's a fun little platform.
And they also changed the dynamics of it around to where it wasn't a pain in the ass to reload anymore. Whereas before you had to completely open the thing. You had to hinge the upper apart from the fire control unit and remove the magazine from inside to do a reload.
But now Kel-Tec has taken all of those developments that Stuff and Things did with their ST50, right? They even made the mag coupler that you now see on Kel-Tec's website, where that is 2 magazines coupled together. So you have 100 rounds on tap on your, ST50, or in this case, P50 or MP50. And you simply flip the magazine over and bada bing, bada boom, you got 100 rounds. This is what it should have been from the get-go. I don't understand why this would have been a complicated concept, right? We want the ability to put on a folding stock or brace, and we want it to not have to, finagle the thing apart to swap the magazine. This is what it should have been, absolutely, from the start. And so if you go to their website, they put out a really cool trailer the other day, or I think it was today. Yeah, they put out the trailer today for it, which is a cool little trailer, John Wick inspired. It looks fine, right? I would have preferred them to actually just show footage of it shooting. Now, what they've done is they brought out 2 different versions. They brought out the KP50, which is what you see here, in pistol or SBR variant. And they also brought out a LE-only MP50 for their 3rd position. Now, they are marketing the MP50 solely to LE and military, which is technically important to do, according to ATF regulations, right? If you're going to be making full auto stuff, it actually has to be for LE and military. Otherwise, you can get your PP slapped by the ATF, which is a no-no. You probably don't want your your PP. There's too many Ps here. The MP50, P50, KP50, too many PPs. But you probably don't want your PP slapped by the ATF. All right. So, I mean, you can see some of the interesting features of it. You can see the reversible magazine coupler there, top pick rail, folding stock, folding brace. If we go down here, they have the pistol variant with just nothing on the back. They have the brace version, SBR, Defender that comes with a bunch of stuff, and then the LE only MP50. Now, the prices on this stuff is not bad. It's actually not bad. You can pick them up for around the 1K mark, which is pretty attractive for what it is. right? And it comes with, you can get the brace version, you can get the SBR version if you want that. And some of the extras are going to cost you more. The magazines are a little expensive, but for essentially what is a decent PDW option, it might still be a little too big for like if you're in the TP9 territory, because the TP9 is more compact just by virtue of the magazine's barrel length, yada, yada, yada. But if you love 5.7 and you want a 5.7 PDW with like a 10-inch barrel on this guy, this size of a PDW is very attractive if you're into 5.7 and already want something like this, because your other options are like a PS90, which is a terribly outdated design. It's heavy, it's bulky, it's far larger than something like this. You have the Ruger Charger 5.7, which is close, but those just take pistol mags, right? And then you have Smith & Wesson made one.
It also takes
right?
pistol mags.
And they also take pistol mags. But if you want 5.7, I think that the P90 magazines are the best part about the P90. Because, I'd rather have 50 rounds in a very low profile package. I think that's very attractive if you're into 5.7 in the first place, right? Which a lot of people are not going to be into 5.7. Totally fine, totally justifiable. It costs the same as 5.56. Personally, if I'm into something like this, 5.7 is a fine caliber, especially in full auto. I think that's, it's going to do what it's going to do, even though it's not necessarily ballistically superior to other options in that category. But still 50 rounds on tap is not a bad thing. It's going to be very loud. It's going to be a funny little gun, expensive to shoot, but I kind of like this. This is what it should have been from the start. Now, unfortunately, on the moral side of things, they did essentially copy or steal a lot of Stuff and Things design implementations, and I'm sure that they noticed it because everybody was complaining about their P50, the fact that it couldn't accept a stock, the fact that the magazine location was funky, the way that it was set up, the lower receiver, all that other stuff. And Kel-Tec probably noticed that Stuff and Things came out and just fixed all of that. And then they were like, well, you know what? We could actually do the same thing. And they didn't give them any credit. They kind of just, took their design and ran with it. Now, legally speaking, I'm not any sort of patent infringement lawyer. I don't think that Stuff and Things had anything officially patented. And if they did, is anything enforceable? It's kind of a weird gray zone, right? Because original company made something. Second company made that thing, but better. While, of course, hopefully not infringing on any patents. And then original company comes back and then improves upon, or not improves, but kind of takes what that company has already done and then integrates it into their own platform. So legally speaking, like who's copying who, right? It's weird.
Well, personally, I like the fact that Stuff and Things bullied Kel-Tec into making it what it should have been. And I think that they should expand upon that idea and continue to pick on Kel-Tec so they improve some of their other designs. Keep it up.
Yeah. Yeah, you should bully Kel-Tec into making functional firearms that people actually want. What the last 3 firearms that Kel-Tec has made has been absolute abysmal disasters from like a practical perspective. But this I like. All right, I would buy this, right? Or I would buy a P50 with the Stuff and Things kit. Right. Morally speaking, I could square that circle a little easier with the Stuff and Things P50 kit, but if I was into 5.7, which I'm not a 5.7 defender, I don't love 5.7, I don't use 5.7, I don't buy 5.7, but if I was gonna buy something like that, it's got to be this, a Tommy built MP7, right? Although those are garbage in like 5,000. Or this, or a PS90, right? And I would take this.
Stuff and Things kit is much better anyway because of the stock or the brace that you can get. You can get the Strike Industries one, which is what Joe had on his, right? And it's got the little cheek riser and stuff, which is, it's much nicer. It's much more comfortable to shoot than this. Now, I don't know if you were aware or not, but Kel-Tec did release a stock for their original one.
Yeah, but wasn't it attached to the QD sling swivel? So
the swing swivel and the bottom of the pistol grip, so it like come out the bottom. It was absolutely atrocious. It was horrible.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. It was just a bad design. You think they could have simply updated it to put a 1913 rail on the back? Like, would that have killed you to do that? Like, no, of course not. Like, they should have done that like 6 weeks later. So they have a pistol only version to get around some, legislation issues or something. And then you have a 1913 version that people can also buy.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't know. What do you guys think? Yay or nay? You guys love it? You guys hate it? You guys think it's awesome, the best thing ever? This or a P90? Actually, I'm kind of curious about that. I'm going to put a poll in the chat real fast.
This all day.
MP50, which is what we're looking at now, or P90. All right. Both full auto, both full send.
This, because it's going to be more comfortable. The AR
Well,
grip and
the AR controls, the real
nicer
ergonomics, and it can fold. So if you're into concealability, you can put this in a backpack a lot better than you could put a P90 in a backpack. I mean, I would be curious to see the quality of the internals and the barrel, right? And how that compares to the P90. Because, I mean, the P90s at least seem to be relatively reliable. I don't know how much I trust Kel-Tec's, bolts and barrels to hold up over the long run.
Yeah, that's the thing. Joe's P50, when he was doing his video on it, some of the bolts, Kel-Tec known for their screws, the screws started backing out. Go figure. But I'm not so sure if that was Kel-Tec's fault or if that was the fault of whoever, because somebody Cerakoted that gun for him. I'm not sure who it was, but the screws clearly had come out at some point in time. So I'm wondering if they didn't get Loctited back when they got finished.
Yeah, I mean, there's the Diamondback DBX as well, which is like an interesting platform. But the problem is with it is it's not a problem, but the 20, 30 round pistol mags, or if you get the really long extended ones that you can get 40, 50 round magazines. But I like the form factor of the P90 mags, right? How they're just in line. They don't add a lot of length. So if you're sticking one in a bag, like it's a really compact package for having 50 rounds on tap. Jeez. Can't talk tonight. Ugh.
The nice thing about this one of the DBX is it was extremely thin.
Thin maxing. Yeah. It's important that your guns are thin. Guns and girls must be thin. Yes. Richard, 2026.
Well, for putting into a bag or something like that.
Yeah, but it's you give up the width, and now the package is like 8 inches long this way. So, and we're all 8-inch packages are way too big to be stuffing in there, right? We all know that. We all agree with that. Okay, that's not a controversial take. All right. Well, while that poll is raging, I'm going to get to some of your guys' support real fast. Amorite Boy, also known as SS Swifty, says Leighton gayer than Logan's opinion of Cars 2. What is Logan's opinion of Cars 2? Does Logan love Cars 2? Thank you, Amorite Boy. Appreciate it, sir. Cody Fisher for $10. Hope you're having a good night. Hope you got some sleep today after being up so late watching degenerate content, Mr. Cody. But appreciate that. Christ is King. Thank you, sir. Paulie B for 5 says, I've worked for Ford and Tesla and have to say Ford coolant tastes better. No, I don't try to get it in my mouth. I'm just a medium speed, some drag. Yeah, it just happens. All right. Good to know. So like if you did a blind taste test between Ford and Tesla, could you tell them apart? Interesting. I need a coolant line specialist in here. Ben for $20. Thank you very much. Incredibly generous of you, sir. Hope you're having a good night. It doesn't matter if it holds legal scrutiny, they'll ram it through. Minnesota Supreme Court will uphold it. Circuit Court is a coin flip. It'll end up at Supreme Court, so give it 5 years as valid law, screwing everyone over. They don't care. No, I know. These people I think that is evil. I think if you support a bill like that, it is evil, right? I think these people, I don't even want to give them the benefit of the doubt. That bill that Minnesota is trying to pass in regards to gun law and gun storage is evil. Thank you, Central Sands fans. Appreciate it, sir. Doomer John for 10 says the Minnesota bill is almost a clone of the Illinois bill. They stripped the home inspection part out before passage. I curse all the sponsors to only eat Indian food for life. Yeah, was it Jacob Frey, the mayor of Minneapolis, actually being forced to eat Indian food and just the disgust on his face? True. Thank you, Doomer John. I appreciate it, sir. Banned state for 5. Well, if you're living in Minnesota, you're about to be a banned state. Says the Supreme Court has had multiple chances, including this past Friday, to rule on these laws. As someone in a state with an assault weapons ban, I've lost most hope. Yeah, I mean, I wish the Supreme Court. I mean, obviously, it's kind of indicative of the problem, right? That they don't take the cases that you would want them to, even if there's a good chance they would rule on it correctly. But it is very obnoxious that they don't just take a case and then rule on it properly. How hard would it be to just do your job? Thank you, Band State. Appreciate it. CM Scar for 5 says, John, what happened to the Discord? Also, thanks for all you do. God bless. God bless. Scar, appreciate it, sir. The Discord is up. It's just invite only, and I don't have access to the invites. You know, I was inviting too many people. I got the last 2 servers taken down, so that's kind of out of my hands. You'll have to message a mod. Thank you, CM Scar. Appreciate it, sir. Get It Out for 5 says, per my Minnesota friend, they already have warrantless searches 24/7 as part of their fishing license and hunting permit. Really?
Yeah.
So by getting a fish,
that's the thing in my state as well. They get around it by just bringing the DNR officers in, and the first thing they do is they walk over and they do a freezer check and they say, "Nope, no illegal fish in here. But what's this gun on the table?" And then they start running their additional checks.
huh? Thank you, Get It Out. Zanico for 5 says, kind of like CMP or what it could be. Yeah, I mean your local state-run gun store, you know, that only sells machine guns at a markup. Thank you, Zanico. Glocky McGlockface for 5 says, Mexico has only one Pew store and it's government ran. Yeah, I've heard that Mexico is absolutely nuts. But even with that, banning all the gun stores, somehow the cartels still have guns. It's crazy. Thank you, Glocky McGlockface. It's like the FBI and ATF are sending them something. Sheepherder for 2 says, forget this fancy drone ammo. Bring back chain shot. That's right. We're bringing ballistas back. Okay. Thank you, Sheepherder. Bolo's back. Thank you, Sheepherder. Polly B for 5 says, at Boondock Ballistician, the War Thunder forums exist for a reason, to divulge TS SAP info on Maine. True, dude. Yeah, it's not a crime if it's in War Thunder, okay? Thank you, Polly B. Lightspore for 2 says, Boondock, why is your face shaped like that? That's not very nice, Lightspore. Chud McGill for 5 says, the government says I didn't pay my taxes in 2024. I'm very upset because I gave them 16 grand that year. Dude, how much money do you make to give them 16 grand? Because, I mean, maybe you don't have any kids or anything, but I only pay like a couple. 16 grand. Well, I mean, in a way, it's a nice thing that you had that much money to give to the state, because that means that you made a lot, hopefully, right? Hopefully that would be the case. Of course, we prefer we don't pay anything, but thank you, Chud. Just Some Space Cowboy for 10 says, this is literally just the U.S. Navy trying to figure out how to deal with kamikazes during World War II, but we have smaller targets and bore diameters, return of the VT fuse. Yeah, in a way, it's kind of a similar problem, isn't it? It's like we just need more aerial batteries on our ships to deal with kamikazes, because, I mean, they're obviously manned in this case, but yeah, interesting. Thank you, Just Some Space Cowboy. Polly B for 5 says, the Marines 0311s all got cans? They have a budget worth shaking a stick at? F this. Former soldier is old AF. Yeah, no, if you were a soldier in the 2000s like my brother was, I think things were probably a little bit different. Back when they were still using A4s. Thank you, Polly B. Lightspore for 2 says, Lena versus Boondock squared off. All right. All right, things I didn't want to read for 2. Chud McGill for 2 says, don't leave Tactical Girlfriend out of it, Lightspore. That's not squirt. That's something else. Makadra for 5 says, when is the Army going to make the SIG rifle standard issue? Last I read, the M4 is still the primary issued gun. Hopefully never, because I don't even think they can bring enough of those to market yet. And again, everything that I hear coming out of that program is still issue after issue, problem after problem. So we'll see how long the charade lasts. All right. Thank you, Makadra. Farva needs a cola for 5 says, the U.S. doesn't need gimmicks like this when one EA-18 can jam the comms to every drone in a large AO. But that doesn't do anything against fiber optic drones, does it? right? Because they have direct connection.
Right.
So, like, I get the idea about like truly autonomous drones, but not for user-operated fiber optic drones. Thank you, Farmer Needs a Cola. Appreciate you, sir. Art Vandalay for 2 says solution for drones: replace M17 with the Taurus Judge. Could you imagine pulling out your Taurus Judge, pointing it at the sky at a drone coming at you at like 40 miles an hour, and just being like, "I hope this works." The problem is with that is it would literally have to be like 10 feet away for you to actually do enough damage to disable it. And at that point, you're in the blast radius.
I just imagine that one scene that, like, Saving Private Ryan at the end, where he pulls out his 1911 after he's been shot, and he's like shooting the tank on the bridge, and then the last one goes off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is actually how firearms work, according to the media, though. That is accurate. Thank you, Art Vandalay. Appreciate that. Omni Byron for 5 says, why can't we just have one decent PDW where the mag goes in the pistol grip? Ground up design, decent price, and not stupid. Yeah, if somebody could just make a TP9 that doesn't suck. Like, unironically, if PSA made the X9 and it took a 30-round magazine in the grip and just didn't suck, that's all you have to do is not suck. All right? And apparently it's impossible. Thank you, Omni Byron. Amrite Boy, member for 3 months, appreciate that, says Richard said he wants to put women in locks. Women in the water cooler, or is that a lock? I think it's a lock.
Is it a lock? Is it a bag?
I don't know. He has a Neanderthal breeding policy. Jail Gondas for 10 says I could use some prayers. Love y'all. Oh, well, we will absolutely do that for you, Jordan. Thank you very much. Prayers for Jordan in the chat, please. Thank you. I hope you're doing well, man. Amrite Boy for 2 says DNR in Wisconsin have warrantless search as well. Oh, very nice. Very nice. Good to know. Zanico for 5 says, I think I'm autistic. Check X. Check X. All right, fine. Shoot, can you just pull up? Give you a second. Over on Ko-Fi. Let me see here. Tarke for 10 says, new cockroach MP5K needs fixing out of the box, but I think I've managed it. Can't wait to file a Form 1 on it. This thing fits under my jacket. It might be the reason I buy a 3-piece suit and a big black duffel bag. There you go. Yeah, I gotta keep the vibe check on that thing. But no, a Turkish MP5 needing work out of the box. I am not surprised. Polly Beef for 10 says, funniest intro clips in a minute. Pre-stream topic was pizza, so I just have to opine that Mexican-style chorizo belongs on pizza. Well, it's meat, so I'm for it. Seen it on both ends of Texas, El Paso, Fort Bliss, and Houston. Houston. If you like pineapples, Lent is a great time to schedule confession with a priest. True. Actually, very true. You should still go to confession for liking pineapple on pizza. Lightspore, Total Nibber Death says, F Atar and Feather, I'll give Tim Waltz new grandchildren and make him watch before introducing him to the, I think that's a euphemism for something. Polly B for 5 says, Richard 2026, she could lose a few. True, that's a good slogan. She could lose a few. All right, so Subartic Psycho on Ko-Fi for $50.
Liberal. Happy fun, la la la. Human smuggling, fentanyl deaths.
Get ready to lose some pounds. Get ready to get shot and thrown in a ditch. Get ready to get dipped in acid baths. But first, you're going to get raped.
Zany, I don't see anything on X. I think you are actually autistic. I don't see any notifications on X. Subartic Cycle says, when Ko-Fi hits 10K, John should finally get a haircut. Actually, John should shave his head bald and do it on stream. Wouldn't you like to know that I've been bald before, dude? I've been bald before. I shaved my head back in college. Yeah. Shaved head running around. I'm not worried about it. I'd do it live for 10K. Shave a head. Like, listen, all right. I know that some people are trying to hang on to the last bit of hair that they have. I get it. Some people, it's very important to their sense of worth, to their self-image. All right. It's all right. I have longer hair now. I had shoulder length hair back when before I cut it in college. I've had long hair as a kid growing up. I've had short hair for a long time as well. I don't really care one way or the other. I think it's funny that people discuss it. A skinhead John for 100K. Well, not technically, all right? Not technically a skinhead. You just, same aesthetic.
Oh,
Kevin
nope.
McMahon
Bald
with the
head.
Las Vegas.
Bald head and Charlie Chaplin mustache.
All right.
Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. With me today is Chief Timothy Shea of the...
Oh, so I should probably introduce this story before it's going into it. But so this was the crash of a New York native, bought a rented a rental car, drove it down to Nevada to try and crash into a power station, right? Something that we've talked about before, or it's been discussed in sort of the weaknesses of the American system, is going to be the power grid. If somebody really wants to do a lot of damage in America, you could target the power grid. Now, this man, who we'll get into in just a minute, has a bit of a multifactorial ideology. They're trying to paint him as extremely right-wing, neo-Nazi, eco-fascist, eco-terrorist. By eco-terrorist, literally just taking down the power grid to try and make it, more green or something like that, even though that's not how that would really work in reality. That just makes people hate you and makes people, invest more to fix the power grid, which thanks for helping us fix our power grid, I guess. But he tragically, well, maybe not so tragically, fails and then self-deletes. So it's a really awkward, really weird story.
Boulder City Police Department and our special agent in charge of the local FBI office, Christopher Delzato. We're here to provide information regarding a critical incident that started last night at an LA Department of Water and Power facility located near Boulder City. First and foremost, I'd like to make sure that our communities all understand that there is no ongoing threat at this time. At approximately 10 a.m., Boulder City Police Dispatch received a 911 call reporting a vehicle crashed through a secured gate at the power substation. The caller indicated that the driver appeared deceased and that gunshots had been heard after the crash. Boulder City police officers immediately...
Now, it is weird that the initial tip said gunshots because, again, allegedly he killed himself, right? He self-deleted. So, I mean, if it was multiple gunshots, maybe the first one didn't quite do it, which is dark and gross, or maybe somebody else, did the actual finishing move.
Responded to the scene. The driver of this vehicle is identified as 23-year-old Dawson Maloney of Albany, New York. Here's a brief video of that vehicle crashing through the gate. You'll see on the monitor to my left, you'll see the vehicle approach. Now, the second video you'll watch from the right, you'll see the vehicle crash right through the gate into the power facility. At approximately 1 p.m., LVMPD was notified and our counterterrorism section responded to assist. Upon arrival, officers observed, obviously, the broken perimeter fence, consistent with the vehicle being intentionally driven through it, a debris field leading to the silver Nissan Sentra bearing New York license plates.
So they have all these bundles of wire around. It's funny in like a cosmic sense, right? Seeing his goal, having his weapon of choice being his vehicle in this case, and wanting to end it all in a blaze of glory to take down this, Don Quixote style windmill, although in this case it's the power grid, right? And just, driving headfirst, full speed into it to literally come to a dead stop right before because you ran into a bunch of stationary wiring. It's like cosmically ironic, right? To have what you believe is this epic goal of, I don't know, Leoning the libtards or something, right? Or the modern world or whatever it might be, very Ted Kaczynski pilled, and then to fail at the last possible millimeter and just to take yourself out, right? After such a generational oral loss.
The vehicle was stopped against large industrial wire reels, as you can see in the photograph to my left. And as they got closer, they observed a deceased male subject in the driver's seat with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The subject was also holding a...
Now, backing up here for a second. Is that a bullet hole in the windshield? Or is that just like you know, he did go through a fence, so it's possible something else did. And also, doesn't this look like a little strange? Because if he went through that fence at full speed, or as fast as he could go, and he was moving rather quickly through, does it look like he just came to a stop? Like, there's no, you know, his bumper's a little messed up. There's not really a lot of disturbance around, like as if he had pushed something or something else. Like, it looks like he bonked these going maybe 20 miles an hour, maybe 15 miles an hour, and that's it. And then he was like, oh, this isn't going to work. And then pops himself? Did he attempt to shoot at the power? Oh, maybe. How pathetic, though. Like, this is your last thing, and you shoot one shot through your windshield at the power station. It's really loud. It discombobulates you. You just got in an accident, and then you yoink yourself. You check out.
Seat with an apparent self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. The subject was also holding a shot.
That's actually an interesting point. Jim Eagle says he should have just rented a U-Haul, packed it with gigatons of fun materials. Like, you're going to die. Splurge a bit. You miserly jackass. I mean, like, listen, I don't condone such actions, of course. But I'm just saying, if you wanted to be more effective, yeah, why don't you just rent a U-Haul for $20, $50, whatever it is, right? It's a lot more mass.
And you'll notice at the in that previous picture, there's a gunshot through the windshield of the vehicle as well. The officers were also able to observe multiple firearms visible inside of the vehicle. In coordination with the Albany Police Department, we learned that the suspect had recently been reported missing out of New York and that he had communicated with family members just prior to this incident. The suspect had made multiple statements referencing self-harm and alluding to committing an act that would place him, quote, on the news, unquote. In a message to his mother, the suspect referred to himself as a dead terrorist son and stated he felt he had an obligation to carry out his act. We also confirmed through the license plate reader data that the suspect traveled from New York to Nevada in a rental vehicle. You see that LPR data on the screen to my left. Currently, LVMPD Counterterrorism and FBI Las Vegas have been working through the night to advance this investigation. Electronic search warrants were executed on the suspect vehicle. A search warrant was also completed at the El Rancho Boulder Hotel, where the suspect had been staying.
Fresh Pinochet says half the people in this world operate on less than 100 IQ points. Way more. Way more. Like, think about the population of people that are above 100 IQ, right? It's only like 52%, 55% of Europeans. All right. Which means half of Europeans are below 100 IQ points. But Europeans are only like, what, 8%, 9% of the world population? So, you know, East Asia's holding it up a bit. You know, they're holding up the global IQ just by volume, right? Everybody else, though, I would say it's like 70% of the world operates on less than 100 IQ points. That might even be lowballing it.
Our armor task force systematically cleared the vehicle for secondary threats. Given the location and the materials discovered, this incident was treated as a terrorism-related event. The evidence recovered, the search from the hotel room revealed multiple books. You'll see those on the screen to my left, related to extremist ideologies, including right and left-wing extremism, environmental extremism.
So Might is right. The Greater Key of Solomon, which is like occult nonsense. I'm going to pronounce that wrong. Limigenton. Harassment architecture, Gothic violence, evasion and escape, and I can't really read the other ones.
White supremacy and anti-government ideology. We also recovered explosive materials and components to include thermite, ammonium nitrate, magnesium ribbon, metal pipes, and gasoline. The search from the rental vehicle.
Yeah, but none of that makes any sense because he didn't even try to use any of that. So he did have explosive materials. He had the, at least the information on how to make it work. He had the rental vehicle. He drives 3,000 miles or 2,500 miles from New York to Nevada to pull this off. And he rams a wall and shoots himself. Like, I don't get it. If we had this larger, elaborate plan to, I mean, this seems sus, right? It seems sus. It seems whack. It seems like either the guy was legitimately mentally like unfit, not just mentally unwell, but I mean like unintelligent, right? So he had enough information about like generically what to do, but no real way to pull it off himself. Like he wasn't actually capable of it, or just completely addled through drugs or whatever sort of psychedelic medication he might have been on. Very messed up in the head, low intelligence, access to some of these more extreme online routes. Like, I mean, there are people that love this type of guy, left and right wing extremists who love this type of guy because they're low intelligence, but, you know, high effort, I guess you could say. So they'll try and do something like this. You know, it's like an Islamic suicide bomber, right? They love these type of people that are they're extremists, not particularly intelligent, but they're believers, right? So they'll actually go out and do something.
Revealed 2 shotguns, an AR-style pistol, numerous loaded AR magazines with .223 ammunition, a box of shotgun shells, 2 devices described as flamethrowers.
What the heck?
Containing thermite material, a crowbar and a hatchet, and a cellular phone, which is currently being forensically analyzed. Additionally, we discovered the suspect was wearing soft body armor at the time of this incident. These findings.
So he had all this stuff ready to go and just didn't do anything? I mean, he had flamethrowers and thermite and explosives and gasoline and firearms and body armor. And then with no opposition, he just deletes himself? He looks like he had a bit of everything. Like he was ready to do something and then he just decides not to. Like if you're going to take yourself out, surely you would do something, right?
Significantly elevate the seriousness of this incident. Over the past few years, we've responded to numerous counterterrorism-related events and evolving threat situations. Each time, our teams have done a remarkable job addressing the various issues. Homeland Security remains a top priority for me as your sheriff, and we'll continue to invest in the people, the technology, and the intelligence capability and partnership to stay ahead of this. I want to conclude my initial remarks by saying this is another coordinated, multi-agency investigation, and we're currently working very closely with our partners from the FBI.
Okay, so that's really all that we need about that. Let me pull up the article here because it's going to show him, the shooter, or not the shooter. Sorry, Freudian slip there because we talk about so many shooters here, but he's going through the wall. Oh my gosh, an ad, really? Excuse me? Can I get back to the video, please? Independent? Please? Yeah, see, this picture just seems strange, right? I was like, if he was going through that fence at Mach 6 and ramming through the barricade to try and get to the power station to end it in a blaze of glory, but he just, even if he slammed on his brakes, right? I just don't see a lot of disturbances or digged up ground or really much of anything other than maybe he smacked these bales of wire at like 10 to 15 miles an hour. Here's a better picture of the actual books. So Might is Right, The Greater Key of Solomon, Limigeddon, Harassment, Architecture, Gothic Violence, and then, of course, you know, some other sketchy widow books. But can I go back to the video? Can you show me the video one more time? Gosh dang it. Have a link to it? No, they don't. That's obnoxious. Well, let me go back to the video here because I know they have it. All right, let's see here.
To my left, you'll see the vehicle approach.
I mean, it looks like he's moving.
Now the second
he's moving fast because he's going to go through that wall like paper.
Crash right through the gate into the
so he is moving.
At approximately 1 p.m., LVMPD was notified and our counterterrorism section responded.
So that's how fast he was moving through there, right? He's moving.
Now the second video you watch from the right, you'll see the vehicle crash right through the gate.
And then he ends up here, just sitting here. Like, I mean, here, maybe he pushed a bunch of other things out of the way and then stopped there, and we just can't see it in this picture here. But this picture looks silly. But maybe he did like barrel through this line, and it just looks silly the way that the camera's covering up the destruction that he went through, right?
Either that or they just moved it.
Would they though? Would they move it? Like an active crime scene? They would just move it out of that seems strange. That seems weird.
Yeah, because with once they clear it, they move it away from the infrastructure.
Maybe. All right. Well, in other strange stories that we're going to get to before we get to some other silly stuff, we have the random. I don't know what this video is about. Can we get rid of this video? Let's go here then. Okay. Armed man shot and killed at Mar-a-Lago was never interested in politics or guns, cousins say. Now, this man showed up at Mar-a-Lago at 1 o'clock in the morning with a shotgun. Donald Trump was not there. Donald Trump was in D.C. at the time. And he shows up there to do some things, or attempt to do some things, and just get slimed by Secret Service. And it just seems strange. I know that people have tried to put out his motivation was, right wing, or it was left wing, or he was trans. I haven't seen any actual verification of any of that stuff yet. I've seen a lot of like bad information floating around because people keep trying to say that he's trans are either memeing or just straight up posting somebody else, which is kind of funny. But the 21-year-old North Carolina man who entered a gate at President Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago resort with a shotgun before he was shot and killed worked as a golf course groundskeeper and liked to sketch. Austin Tucker Martin rarely, if ever, talked about politics, seemed afraid of guns, and came from a family of Trump supporters, according to Braden Fields, a cousin who said the two grew up together. I wouldn't believe that he would do something like this. It's mind-blowing, Fields said. He wouldn't even hurt an ant. He doesn't even know how to use a gun. Martin walked up to the secure perimeter at Mar-a-Lago early Sunday and went through a gate when it opened for employees to leave. A U.S. Secret Service spokesman said Monday Martin dropped a gas can and raised a shotgun at two Secret Service agents and a Palm Beach County Sheriff's deputy who then opened fire to neutralize the threat. Trump, who often spends weekends at the Palm Beach, Florida resort, was at the White House at the time. Investigators have not identified a motive. This is another, they believe, attempted assassination attempt, because I don't really know why else you would be going to Mar-a-Lago with a shotgun and a can of gas, if not to cause arson and try to cause damage to the president in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're from North Carolina and you drive specifically to Florida to do it. But it just seems so strange and, MK Ultra-esque, because it's always some just random kid who has no real reason to do this sort of thing. We don't know anything about him at all. We don't have access to, social media posts, his history, what sort of Discord groups or Telegram groups that he was a part of, like none of it, right? It's like, oh, this random kid went here and did this thing. So the incident happened near the north side around 1:30 a.m. on Sunday. In Palm Beach, President Trump and First Lady Melania were in Washington, D.C. that night attending the governor's dinner. Two Secret Service agents and a deputy with the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office ordered the man to drop his weapons. They confronted a white male that was carrying a gas can and a shotgun. He was ordered to drop those two pieces of equipment that he had with him. Investigators said the suspect, who was from North Carolina, had been reported missing by his family just days earlier. So again, just goes on like a days-long journey to Florida, planning his angle of attack, I guess, to go in when the workers go out in the morning and try to gain access to the building and cause damage, right? And he's gone for a couple days, and his family reports him missing. Just days earlier, initially dropped the fuel can, but then raised his gun into a firing position, prompting officers to open fire. At that point, the deputy and two Secret Service agents discharged their weapons and neutralized the threat. He is deceased at the scene. Yeah, going up against those guys is a relatively stupid idea. Now, although I will say, do you remember the second Trump shooter, the one at the golf course? You remember him? And when Secret Service tried to, well, they did get him, of course, but they allegedly shot 6 times at him without hitting him once, right? The second crazy shooter with the SKS. So they engaged him. They shot at him 6 times while trying to apprehend him. Never hit the guy, but did end up apprehending him. At this time, no law enforcement personnel were injured during the incident. We want to be clear, the President of the United States was not in Florida. So again, this is from the parents saying my nephew, or the aunt in this case, my nephew to Austin Tucker Martin is missing. He left home at 1 p.m. yesterday and hasn't had contact with anyone since 7:51 yesterday. This is not like him at all. So this is, out of character for this young man. We don't know where he went. And allegedly he went to Mar-a-Lago to get himself killed. Suicide by Secret Service. which is just very strange. Very weird. Again, two very strange, suicidal young men with maybe crazy ideologies, maybe radical ideologies, even though this guy allegedly had almost nothing in the way of politics or in the way of firearms interest. The other guy could just be a, eco-terrorist, and I've known, people who are of that ilk. So that's not unreasonable. But this guy doesn't seem to have any motive at all. And if you just look it up, it's just there's really no information publicly available about the young man. I don't think his family's really spoken up. I haven't seen any interviews or anything else popping up that would give us some indication of his motive. We did it. Well, speaking of motive, this was just funny, okay? All right, there's no real rhyme or reason other than I personally find it funny, okay? But Gavin Newsom, perhaps the next president of the United States, all right? I'm not going to lie, perhaps the next president of the United States. Not that that's a good thing, of course, because he is a evil, disgusting human, as most of these reptilian politicians tend to be. But he's doing the thing. He's doing the Joe Biden, poor kids are just as smart as white kids. He's doing the thing, but with even more charm. He's even better at Joe Bidening than Joe Biden was, all right? And he can pull it off because he's got that jawline, right? He can straight up mog JD Vance, all right? So if we're looks maxing here, this guy could be the first looks maxing president of the United States, dude. I also thought this one was funny, just for unrelated reasons, of course. I'm something of a black man myself. Let's let him say it in his own words. Mr. Scummy Gavin Newsom, black maxing, look maxing. At a black crowd in Georgia. For some reason, he's already on the campaign trail. Let's just call it what it is. He's already doing his thing. But in his own words, let's him describe how he's just like black people. Listen, I'm stupid like the rest of you.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 9'6".
Listen, when you have to keep reassuring a group of people that you're not better than them, and listen, I'm like you guys. I have a 960 SAT. I feel like it's just, you're inferring something. Like, why wouldn't that just be normal? Of course, from my perspective, it would be normal.
I'm not trying to impress you. I'm just trying to impress upon you. I'm like you. I'm no better than you. I'm a 960 SAT guy. And I'm not trying to offend anyone, trying to act all there if you got 940. But literally a 960 SAT guy. I cannot, you've never seen me read a speech because I cannot read a speech.
He's trying to fit in with a black crowd by listen, I'm like you. I'm stupid. I can't read. Y'all know how us honkies are, dude, with a high and mighty reading skills, dog. Shit, man, I just like you for real, dog. You never seen me read no speech. Yeah, man. Yeah, it's like, ha ha ha. That's so funny, dude. That's so funny. Anyways, you know what's really funny about this? Picture goes hard, by the way. Mr. Guns and Gear being very based. Listen, dog, 400 credit score like you. What wasn't pictured, though, unfortunately, I don't have video of it, is he actually pulled up to the event in a repoed Hellcat. Wild move, with spinners on it as well, right? Wild move, but just really trying to fit in and win that black vote. I find that very funny. Now, I'm not really into merch, okay? Merch isn't something that I try and sell or, because I don't think it has a lot of value. It might be funny and people like it, but for me, I just think it's silly stuff. I'd rather spend money on real stuff like ammunition, okay? But, all right, this shirt goes hard. All right, digital blackface Gavin Newsom, I can't read, goes really hard, okay? I feel like I could wear this anywhere and I would get lots of dirty looks and lots of laughs, okay? Napa maxing is also quite funny. However, sorry to break it to you, Gavin Newsom, but you're still 60 points higher than the average Black American, according to SAT averages. Now, at the top, you have Asian at 1228 because East Asians, not Indians, okay? I need Indians to be separated from Asians. When I say Asians, I don't mean Indians, all right? Get those guys out of here. But for Asians, for East Asians, 1228, very high, okay? 2 or more races, which is usually, you know, Hapa, I guess is what we're talking about here, or white, 1090, 1083. Of course, the next highest is Hispanic Latino at 939, which again, Gavin Newsom is at 960. So he's still smarter than the average Latino, still smarter than the average Native Hawaiian, much smarter than the average American Indian. I'm always shocked at how, what's the most kosher way I can say this? How bad Native Americans are at generic human things, right? I'm just always shocked at how bad they are, like at almost everything Native Americans are. But then blacks are at 907. Now, it's important to remember that American blacks are also superior to other African blacks, because after several hundred years of being here, they have about 20-25% European DNA on average, so they have a little bit higher SAT scores. But still, Gavin Newsom is frame-mogging, you know, the average black guy in terms of his SAT scores. So he's trying to fit in. He's trying to do it, but he's still mogging the average black guy in terms of intelligence. Now, again, our first looks-maxing president, Gavin Newsom 2028. That's not a future that I want, by the way. It's just probably a reality. It might be a reality, okay? Basically calls blacks retarded and then says trannies aren't normal the next day. And Republicans want you to hate this guy. Now, this is irony posting. Don't get upset. We know he's terrible, okay? We know he's awful. We know he's evil. This is irony posting, all right? But this is him talking about, we need to stop focusing on the pronouns. We need to stop fag-maxing.
No doubt that the Democratic Party needs to be, dare I say, more culturally normal. I believe that. Less prone to spending disproportionate amount of time on pronouns, identity, politics. More focused on tabletop issues, things that really matter.
Stop being so gay and retarded. So this is what coming to the middle looks like. This is what Gavin Newsom is doing. This is appealing to a wider base. This is a residential move, right? You know, it's like when Trump is talking to his base and he's like, we're going to get rid of these. We're going to border no more wars and fix the economy. And then in reality, Trump is, you know, not really doing any of those things. Whereas Gavin Newsom is going to be a evil, degenerate left-wing POS, right? A progressive POS, and push for all of the evil in society that we are currently dealing with. But he'll cater to the middle in terms of like making himself seem more electable. It's always what they do. They try and pander to the guys in the middle a little bit. So him saying, let's be more normal, is just saying, hey, retards, can you be less gay for a second? Can we stop fag-maxing? Start frame-mogging. Frame-mogging 2026, 2028. Fag-maxing never. Something like that. He credited, of course he credited Charlie Kirk for his new centrist views, all right? Because he's trying to peel off center-right people, which he could probably do. Especially Trump. The worse Trump makes it for the Republican Party or just the right in general, because he just keeps failing at every single one of his promises over and over and over and over again, people are going to look to the alternative like Gavin Newsom, and all he has to do is be slightly more appealing than the next guy. And it's pretty easy to do.
To be, dare I say, more culturally normal. I believe that. Less prone to spending disproportionate amount of time on pronouns, identity, politics. More focused on tabletop issues, things that really matter, the stacking of stress in terms of electricity bills and childcare costs and health care and obviously housing costs.
Deport all illegals and all the legal ones too. That fixes healthcare costs, that fixes housing costs, that fixes wages, that fixes electricity, it fixes everything, all right? Just deport 100 million people. Suddenly everything gets so much better. Little things here and there have problems, but deport 100 million people. But they're never willing to do that, right? They're like, oh, I just can't tell you how bad it is to buy a house. Anyways, we need 20 million more H-1B workers. I know it's really hard, and only like 30% of people are getting a job out of college. Anyways, I need more H-1B workers. It's also true. Yeah, no need to deport them. No need to deport them. I have a different option in mind, okay? Now, speaking about frame mogging, once again, this is just a story that I find funny, all right? This doesn't matter. This isn't important. This is nonsense. This is me just looking back at the nonsense that Zoomers are getting into and what absorbs these people's minds and their time, and just pointing and laughing a little bit, all right? This is me sitting on the fences, throwing crap at the guys, you know, milling about out there, doing their weird Chad aura farming max something nonsense. JesterMAXXing, straight up jester gooning. I don't know what any of these words mean, but this is just nonsense, okay? Androgenic or androgenic, which is funny because it's remarkably similar to androgynous, but androgenic has his hat stolen by a stranger, revealing his clapped bald hairline and exposing him as a fraud maxer. The hair was a lie. He was wearing a wig. Generational aura loss, no recovery possible, bald mogged. Yes, career-ending cortisol spike. All right. So here's this guy who is, there's these retarded, I don't even want to call them right-wing influencers, but like right-wing e-boys, I guess, who are really concerned with getting mogged and mogging other people, right? They're really concerned with their standings compared to other men, which is fine. You know, comparisons aren't always a bad thing in every category. And I think it's good to try and be the best that you can personally be, to looks max or money max or intelligence max or whatever it might be. The pursuit of greatness is not a problem. But these guys take it to the nth degree. And I gotta be honest too, like the amount of drugs that this man ingests to look normal is rough, dude. Like imagine being like whatever this guy is, 24, 25 years old, injecting all of the steroids to lose your hair instantaneously to look like this. He looks like Miguel the mechanic down the road. He looks fine, right? He doesn't look bad by any means. He looks fine. Like his build is fine. But just watch the aura loss here as he gets his wig stolen.
Whoa.
just look at that head shape. Look at that jawline. Tragic.
What? No.
He knows it's over too. Look at him. From, you know, decent looking Chad or farming, mog maxing, whatever, to just instantly gone. All of it. Because he's got a grand thumb hairline. Listen, dude. Yeah, suddenly not so aura maxing. Aura debt. Permanent aura debt. All right. He's probably going to put his children into aura debt. And then, of course, he responds, ain't no way mainstream news sources are covering this. The New York Post is writing articles about androgenics, categorical hairline loss, but also aura loss, of course. Tragic waste. Anyways, have you been following the looks maxers, Richard? Have you been following the development of this cultural phenomenon?
Yes, I have.
All right, who's your top mogger right now? Who's number one? All right, is it Clav? Is Clav now back to the undisputed frame mogging looks maxer, or is it the ASU frat guy?
I liked the frat guy.
You like the frat guy? Okay. He's Foyd maxing right now. Now, instead of Foyd maxing, the U.S. military has been gay India maxing for, let me see, negative $3 million. Yes, this is Mr. Checks notes Ramroop. Mr. Rampoop. Very nice. I think we need more of these people here. Please give me more of these retarded Indians to steal $3 million from the U.S. military. A U.S. airman husband allegedly stole $3 million. Oh my gosh. Gay Indian. Pick a struggle, bro. Pick a struggle all life. From government to fund lavish lifestyle, luxury cars, and mansion. A U.S. Air Force pharmacist and his husband, womp womp, problem, are accused of stealing over $3 million from the Department of War to fund their lavish lifestyle that included purchasing a BMW, a Porsche, and a mansion in Arizona. Staff Sergeant Richard Stefan Ramroop, 35, and Manuel George Madrid, just what are these names, were hit with a 12-count indictment for their alleged scheme to steal from the government between January 2022 and December 2025. Ramroop is suspected of taxpayer funds to purchase thousands of medical devices through his position in the pharmacy at Davis-Monthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Arizona. After securing the equipment, the couple resold the devices and kept the profits for themselves, costing the Department of War over $3 million. Arizona U.S. Attorney Timothy Courchien. Bank accounts connected to Ramroop and Madrid received over $11 million in wire transfers, automated clearinghouse, deposit, and other credits from companies for the devices. So you can see here is his Arizona mansion. Here is a Porsche Cayenne, I think. Yep. And then here's another BMW sport SUV. Not good taste in vehicles. They're not even that cool. Like, I hate the idea of buying like what's the Lambo? That's an SUV. Is it the? I mean, its name is slipping me, but imagine buying like a sports car, but then it's just the SUV version of it. It's so gross, so obnoxious. Yeah, Ram Ranch, Ram Poop. But yeah, the U.S. Air Force is gay JesterMAXXing, and it's not going so well. Negative $3 million from U.S. tax funds. Again, we should execute, or trying to think of what would be funnier. What would be more justified? There's got to be something funny you could do with this, but yeah, very, very problematic, very gay. $195,000 for that? Are you kidding me? The alleged fraudsters bought a 2024 Porsche Cayenne Sport for $141,000. $141,000, and then $195K for that? That's insane, dude. Doc Brown says, my neighbor has 2 Lambos and the Lambo SUV. Well, I mean, if you have like the regular Lambos, and I think it's the Urus, and an Urus, I mean, I guess that's fine if you just really like Lambo. And so you have your family Lambo and then your personal Lambo, right? Fair enough. But yeah, dude, what I would buy with $190,000 would be so much more vehicle than this. This is worth almost $250,000. You're insane. You're absolutely insane. Wild. Yeah, Lamborghini Urus. That's the one. Oh, does the BMW have the Urus engine? I mean, that's interesting, I guess, but still, $250,000? Wild. Wild, wild, wild. What people will pay. I guess somebody's got money in this economy. But you know what? The economy hasn't been good for everyone, Richard. In fact, I would say it's been quite bad for some people. In fact, it's so bad that a Jewish couple adopted 5 black children to use them as slaves.
What?
Listen, right. I know the economy is bad, guys. All right, I know the economy is bad, but buying black children to use them as slaves, I mean, I don't know if we're at that level. We have seen this one before. Actually, you could say it's part of their cultural tradition, part of their historical tradition, right? They're just kind of returning to nature, some would say. Now, this is actually, ironically, also the fulfillment of an Owen Benjamin joke, right? Where he says, instead of aborting black babies, just let me buy them. I'll put them to work, right? Because which one is more morally reprehensible, right? Murdering a black child or putting it to work, right? A lot of these abortion activists would clasp their pearls at the idea of putting a black child to work, but they wouldn't hesitate to murder it. So I think, honestly, I do have a level of respect for these Jewish individuals for saving these black children from abortion and putting them to work, right? Because this is sort of a lesser of two evils argument. Yeah, it's a good Owen Benjamin joke, right? In fact, I could probably just pull it up. We could just listen to his joke because it's real. It actually happened. Somebody needs to send this to Owen, or maybe I'll send it to Owen because I find it so funny that it actually happened. I'll see if I can find the full Owen Benjamin clip. I know I have it on my editor, but I just want the raw clip. The problem is I have so many clips all the time because I download like 6 a day to save for later. Is it even going to be possible to find this guy among the menagerie of clips that I have floating around? And my recall's not good to begin with, so I mean, geez. It might take too long because of my retarded brain. Actually, no, I could probably just... We're on Twitter. I could probably just find it on Twitter. Because Twitter actually has a decent search engine if I'm looking for like specific clips somehow. Owen Benjamin slaves. Now, I'm going to get a lot of clips from Owen Benjamin.
Yeah. Generic search results that have...
Oh, I know. Let's say black abortion.
While you're looking that up for the fine people, I'm going to go use the bathroom real quick. I shall return.
Okay. Owen Benjamin, black abortion slaves. My search history is quite strange. Black abortion slaves. Come on. All right. Well, actually, I know where to find it. I'll find it over here. We'll watch this clip first, and then we'll go to the joke. How about that?
Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated children. Lance and Whitefeather kept motion-activated Arlo cameras on the children, one in the shed on the 14-year-old boy and 16-year-old girl, and one in a room upstairs with no bed, only a tarp floor that stayed on the 9-year-old girl and 11-year-old boy. The video showed a daily routine of waking up early and being forced to stand with hands on head, unable to change or shower, receiving only peanut butter sandwiches to eat before going back to bed on the floor. In the shed, the teens used a camper toilet, holding a sheet up for each other to shield the other from the camera. Lieutenant Pyle said she first began hearing about this in August before the shed discovery, but
Wait, so were they actually doing work, or were they just pedos and just watching them? Right? What were they actually doing? They just stayed in their room 24/7, ate sandwiches, and stood there doing nothing? Like, what do they actually do? And yeah, I mean, what a retarded thing to do. I guess they're monitoring the children, right? Making sure they don't try to escape. But is that all you're doing? You're just monitoring them? What was the actual... I'm confused on what the actual purpose of this was.
Testified could never quite get a hold of a CPS worker to follow up.
There was a contact made with a worker once, but there was no further contact to coordinate going and making a visit to the residents together.
The jury saw days of video the Arlo camera saved, including the moments deputies busted in the door on the shed on October 2nd. You're okay. The children were turned over to Child Protective Services, and when Lance and Whitefeather got back with 2 of the children that night, they were later arrested. But that was just the beginning of their charges and the investigation. On Friday, the jury got an inside look at Whitefeather's cell phone. This included text messages between she and Lance where they referred to the kids as monkeys and pigs.
Huh. It's not very nice of you. I mean... There are many reasons why this would be a cautionary tale. I think that adoption in and of itself should be one of the most altruistic, kind-hearted things that you could possibly do. However, when you see somebody who is buying children from outside of their race, or buying children as a gay couple that happens to be the gender that they're attracted to, I think that sort of thing just absolutely has to be disallowed. Nope, not doing it. Recipe for disaster. No, thank you.
And Lance would describe physical punishment, where he said he, quote, knocked one of them. We saw one text where Lance said, quote, somebody didn't say thank you, and his sandwiches disappeared. We also saw more video from Whitefeather's phone from their time in Washington that also showed yelling and physical abuse from Lance. A finance expert from the West Virginia Fusion Center, Alyssa Ledbetter, also took the stand on Friday. She broke down the adoption payments Whitefeather and Lance received from Minnesota. She said in total of what they analyzed from 2019 to 2023, the two received about $318,000 in adoption support payments.
See, that's the racket, though. You get the children. So it's not slavery in the terms of like making them do physical work. I thought they were going to be, breaking rocks in a quarry, right? Taking big rocks and making them little rocks. But it's just to scam the taxpayers, right? Because if you do go through all of the adoption process, and I know people who did this personally with friends, where they would get paid every month for the amount of children that they had. So they would get extra adopted children, not really care for them all that much or care for them improperly, but they didn't care because they got paid. So this was a monetary thing. This was not for the benefit of the children or for some sort of altruism. This was literally like children as a job, right? To make money off of them. In the same way that a black baby mama with 3 baby daddies or 5 baby daddies has more kids so that they can get more money from the state. In this case, 2 Jewish elderly couple, they say, we don't want to work anymore. So why not just tarp up a room and put some black kids in there and we can get money from the state. Somali maxing. Now this is Juden maxing. Like this is Juden maxing. Somalis wouldn't do something like this. They would do other crimes.
But she testified this didn't tell.
No, I know. The foster care system is awful. Awful, awful, awful.
The whole story.
That's the ear rape mic. It's like, hey, can you give the lady on the interview stand, can you give her the ear rape mic, please? I need the rape mic. Give them the rape mic. I think that'll help everybody out. Let me see. I can probably get here. How about this one? Is this one
okay? Is this the rape mic? Can we get the rape mic on the witness, please? Please give them the rape mic to make sure that the audience cannot understand what she's saying, okay? Give them the rape mic. The Xbox 360 mic, that's good. Send that one to that one as well, okay? Give it to them.
This began in June of 2018, and I only had from June of 2019 to November of 2023. So altogether, we're missing about 18 months.
All of this leading up to the most harrowing testimony so far on Friday afternoon from someone who lived it. We are not allowed to film or record the victims who will testify in this case, but we're in the room as the teen girl, now 18, but 16 at the time, shared what her life was like both in Washington State and in Sissonville. She said life progressively got worse with Whitefeather and Lance once they moved to the ranch in Washington in 2019. This is when the outdoor...
Man, lots of people doing that to the foster system in Washington, apparently. That was when I was there, too.
Labor began, she said, and the physical punishments that included hits from a PVC pipe. While under a child services investigation there in Washington, eventually they moved to Sissonville, but she did not know why. She talked about how CBS was called soon after they arrived in West Virginia, and she detailed a visit from a worker who stayed on the porch and talked to them through the screen door. The teen testified she was not honest with CPS because Lance could hear her from where she was standing. Eventually, she and her teen brother, who has several mental health disorders, were locked in a shed in August of 2023. She said she went without a shower for 2 months and never changed clothes. She went from sleeping on a mattress to the floor with a sleeping bag. Her brother slept on the concrete floor with only cardboard at his head.
See, this is the thing, right? I know people like to joke about the different other issues that are plaguing America when it comes to demographics, but I do believe that these people should be executed, right? For cruel and inhumane treatment of people who have not done anything to deserve that yet, of course. But I do believe these people deserve the death penalty. Absolutely.
She said she was forced to be his babysitter, but testified he was never the dangerous, violent kid that Lance and Whitefeather made him out to be. She recalled the use of physical violence, pepper spray, and racial slurs from Lance and Whitefeather. She recalled also being scared when police arrived at the shed, worried that she would say something to upset Whitefeather. Some of her more emotional moments came during cross-examination by Whitefeather's attorney, Mark Plants. At one point, he referred to Whitefeather as her mother, and she quickly corrected him. He questioned questioned why some of her interviews before this contradicted what she said on the stand. But when Tuck asked her why she felt comfortable telling the truth now, she said,
Yeah, see, every story of adoption is usually some like wildly successful thing that ended up great for the kid, or just a straight up horror story. Right? So, like I knew a pastor at a church that I went to when I was growing up. There was a very special program. He and his wife could not have kids. So there was a very special program for adopting children from overseas. So this would have been, I think, in China. And it was essentially there were like these second class children who had some sort of defect, usually very minor, but where they were given up and ostracized from society. And so again, this isn't like based, but in a way it is based. So these people who were not able to have children would, you know, adopt these places from where they would essentially be like second class citizens and bring them over here. Again, problematic in the long scheme of things, but on an individual level, it's fine. And it worked out quite well for them.
because I know I won't have to go back to that.
Yeah, you're not heading back. But no, I think you should just execute these people. No care for life, just using people to literally blood-sucking leeches to drain money out of them. I don't think we need these people to exist.
One of the kids called her mom, and she.
What else do they know? Well, I mean, from the kid's perspective, like their warped reality, Stockholm syndrome life, it's like they did something wrong. They were afraid that their dad was going to be mad at them. They were afraid that like these people wouldn't love them, right? And, you know, it's a sick, twisted world you live in when you're in this sort of nightmare inverted life, right? So, of course, you're going to be like, oh, are you going to take away my dad? I don't want you to take away my dad. Even though he's the worst, most awful human being in existence, he's the only dad you've known, right? Years. Yeah, but just delete them. No more waste of space. No more waste of funds. But this does solve the Owen Benjamin question here when it comes to abort them or enslave them. All right, which one's more moral? And I think it is a good argument that enslaving them is a more moral choice than just murdering them.
A funny response about abortion. When people are like, I'm like, yeah, I'm against abortion. And they're like, well, I mean, so what are all these black women supposed to do with their babies? And just be like, I'd buy them. You know, like, I'll put them to work. Is it better to kill them than let me buy them? Right? When people just spiral, oh, slavery's so bad, it's so bad, we got to kill them all. Why is it, if like a black woman's going to have an abortion, why not just let me buy it? Right? Free labor for life. Yeah, we call it a rapper's dozen. Because I'd really like to see the argument that killing someone is more moral than just buying them. Start looking at the Nigerians as people that you may be able to purchase. I'm going to start scouting.
Right. You should start thinking of the black people in your life as investments. All right. Potential future investments. All right. You know, it's like real estate on the moon. At some point, you know, the stuff could be worth money. Even broken clocks can be right once in a while. I like Owen. I've talked to Owen like twice in my life. He's a very interesting man. He's a little manic. He is very driven, okay? But he has that element, you know, that sort of like genius madness dichotomy, and you're getting one Owen or the other. You're getting one or the other, yes. You know? And so, you know, God bless him and his family and his wife for sticking together and dealing with it. But Owen will admit, like, he goes through manic episodes. He knows he does. Absolutely. I would get him on the show. Why wouldn't I? You know?
Yeah, he does have that artistic genius / manic persona, I guess.
Well, so Sugma says, this is the thing that I like black-pilled. I like Devin Stack, okay? So it's like, Owen is grug-brained. Devin Stack owned him. Owen Benjamin has a ranch and kids and a beautiful wife. Devin Stack has an abandoned church that he converted into a broadcasting station. and he's like 50 and like 100 pounds overweight. Like, he does really good work. He's a very talented propagandist. I appreciate a lot of the work that he's done. But you can own Owen Benjamin, you know, in some sort of metaphorical context. But when it comes to the sum of your life, Owen's got him beat. Owen's frame mogging Devin Stack. Just some Space Cowboy on Rumble says, looks maxing thing was based off of an e-dating study which showed physical appearance of males was the most important factor for women by a lot, also has effects on career outcomes. No, of course, the more attractive you are, the more likely you are to get hired. It's just true. It's like people will complain about not being with the 10 out of 10 baddie, but they're 60 pounds overweight and can't, you know, bench one plate, right? And you could just not be those things. So it is very true. If you actually just put some work on yourself, you could improve your station in life. So I think you should look max, not to this extent, right? You don't need to ingest all the drugs. You don't need to lose your hairline at 24. You can just generically work out. You can just eat a healthy diet. You can just have good sleep hygiene, right? You can just do normal things to maximize your potential. You can look max. You should money max. You should spirit max, right? You should be doing all of these things to improve your station in life. That's kind of like the foundational part of manhood, is trying to make yourself better, not just for yourself, because I think purely look maxing focuses only on you. What can I do for me? How can I make me better for me, right? Whereas you should be looking at not just how can I make my own station better, but then make it better for other people. Like, I have a wife and a family, right? So I have a purpose greater than just myself. If you don't have a wife and a family, but you want to strive towards that, you're still going to be looks maxing, money maxing, station maxing, whatever it might be, of course. But you got to have a bigger end goal in mind than just yourself and banging a bunch of foids, because that's gonna fall away. You're gonna get your wig pulled off, your metaphorical wig pulled off someday, and it's gonna be like, oh, the party's over. Now it's time to pay the bill.
Yep.
Jonathan Glibber Pacone says, Jesus never had kids and most of your viewers are childless. So, well, Jesus was God, so jot that down. But no, of course a lot of my viewers are childless. I get it that it's rough out there. I get it that it's horrible out there, right? But I mean, if you spend your life, and I mean spend it literally, like you spend your days just hedon maxing, just doing what's good for you, at the end of your life, I mean, you get judged for that from the Christian paradigm, right? So I don't think you should frame your life in getting married or having kids. I know that is a goal for a lot of people, but I think when people try and go down that pipeline solely, like that's their end goal, it almost inversely makes it more difficult for them to get married and have kids, right? Because if all you do is simp after women instinctively don't like that. So in a way, it's like being disassociated from that and trying to make yourself the best version possible will naturally attract that sort of person into your life. And again, I get it that it is, like, if I was dating right now, I wouldn't. It would be like impossible for me to meet a girl. I'm 30 years old now, so I wouldn't, to meet a girl within 5 years of me that is not some ridiculous whore or clapped would be basically impossible. Basically impossible. So I understand that I am an anomaly. I am extremely lucky to be married and have kids and be in a good relationship. I understand that is extremely lucky on my part. All right. Polly B for 10 says, right-wing Ted Kaczynski makes successful weapons and operates effectively, but family rats him out. Left-wing Ted Kaczynski doesn't understand physical reality, and his entire family didn't care he was a terrorist. Yeah. The dichotomy of man. Thank you, Polly B. Sheep Herder for 5 says, a gay Indian not named Balls Deep is a missed opportunity. Listen, we have Balls Deep in Vagina in the chat with us right now. Thank you, Sheep Herder. Sheep Herder again for 2 says, 5 adopted black kids? That's a starting 5, bro. True, dude. Think of it as an investment for the starting on the Cavs next year. Thank you, Sheep Herder. An interesting investment. Cody Fisher for 10 says, is it really more moral to let them live? Yes. I mean, well, so you'd have to, if the alternative is abortion, which is like the satanic, ritualistic murder of a child, or ritualistic sacrifice, murder, abortion of a child, right? Evil in all of its forms. If the alternative is that or slavery, slavery is obviously the more moral option. Now, the most moral option would be to remove them all from the country, right? To say, like, this is our land, we just don't want you here, go over there, right? And of course, there's going to be a few broken eggs here and there. And from a long-term perspective, I'm not saying, oh, just allow them to replace you, allow them to replace you. No, that's incredibly gay and retarded, of course. But it is like the ritualistic, satanic murder, sacrifice of a child is less moral than slavery. Yes. Thank you, Cody Fisher. Amrite Boy for 2 says, speak for yourself, Pinecone Man. Well, I mean, listen, I know a lot of people that their entire life is wrapped up in trying to get a girl and they wonder why they're unsuccessful at it. It's because that's all they do, right? They haven't looks maxed themselves. They haven't money maxed themselves. They haven't station maxed themselves. They haven't learned a skill. They're not particularly good at anything. They're just chasing women and it just doesn't work out for them. So, and it's difficult. Also, some of you guys try and bang whores and you're wondering why they're not going to be housewives. Thank you, Amrite Boy. Central Sands Defense for 5 says, wife, kids, dogs, land, and a loving family, all that matters, boys. Yeah. I mean, there was a time in America where the average man absolutely would be married with kids in a house. That is not the world we currently live in. And I understand that it's very difficult for young men out there. And it's also important historical context that throughout all of human history, 40% of men were biologically successful. And what I mean by that is reproduced. Only like 40%. And that's just a historical reality. Now, there was a time in like 1950s baby boomer America where that number might have been 70%, 75%, right? Where you would have better odds than not of having a wife, kids, and family. You would have the American dream. Boomers gave that away. And you should be furious. And you should want to buy it back. Thank you, Central Sands Defense. Appreciate it. Glonk, respecter, member for 2 months, says, look, maxing rank chads are just male-to-male troons. It's very gay-coded, right? When your entire life is wrapped up in looks compared to other men, not about virtue, not about what you've accomplished, nothing, but just mogging other men, other boys, really, right, who are not biologically successful. It's just really gay, right? It's so hedonistic. It's a sign of decadence. That's all it is. Thank you, Glock Respecter.
Talk about Trench that way.
Trench, it's hard to break it to you. Trench is biologically successful. Has a wife, probably is going to have kids.
Oh, does he?
He's married, yes. Zanico for 5 says, John, I made you an art on X. You're tagged. All right, let me see. What is this nonsense? No, wait, am I autistic or retarded? It's gun stuff. Let's rate this guy's builds real fast, all right? Because we got some cringe. I noticed some cringe right away. Let's see. So we got Beretta 1301 up top, right? MP5 10 mil, or is that 40? Either way, that's kind of cool. I like the straight mags. I think the straight mags are hot. We got a RPD, kind of cool. We got a is that a Hodge rail, or is that a Hodge rail, or is that the Sons of Liberty Gunworks one? Kind of cool. Kind of cool. That's not totally cringe. The mount is cringe, but
yeah.
We got an EOTech 1 to 10 on a Geisley 14.5 Super Duty. That's mega based. Integrally suppressed, or not integrally suppressed, but just a suppressed Mark IV. Cool. And a Glock 17, or no, that's a Glock 47. That's pretty cool. Actually, mostly based. Almost entirely based. Thank you, Zanico. Appreciate that. Lightsport for 2 says, who's more chopped, Boondock or Nighthawk? Man, again, Lightsport, make whatever jokes you want, but they're both in relationships, so I guess it doesn't matter now, does it? All right, it doesn't matter. Listen, no, I'm not gonna make that joke. I'm not gonna. I was gonna make a joke similar to that. I don't know. It's not my thing. All right, not my thing. They're out of the dating pool. I'm out of the dating pool. We're all good. Everybody's happy. Okay. As long as everybody's happy, that's all I care about. All right. Let's see here. Well, now we're going to talk about Mexico. Speaking of chopped places, how about Mexico Civil War? Did you guys have that? on the menu for 2026. So let's, The Wire has a quick little video. S2 Underground, great video. Fantastic. Go watch it. I'll put the link in chat. But this is a great little preface before we get into some of the footage floating around there from the various sources.
This is The Wire for 1100 Zulu, February 23rd, 2026. Precedence is priority. Information cutoff is 10:30. Bottom line up front. Cartel war kicks off in Mexico as CJNG leader killed by Mexican forces. Beginning with international events. In Mexico, yesterday afternoon, Mexican forces conducted a raid in the town of Tapalpa, Jalisco, with the objective of capturing Nemesio Ruben Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, the leader of the CJNG cartel. During the operation, El Mencho was killed.
Isn't El Mencho like an old man, though? Or was an old man? Because like this picture was from a while ago when he got arrested, right? So isn't El Mencho actually just an old man who was basically like a figurehead of the organization? But it's just an excuse to kick things off. Like he was well respected, well loved, but he wasn't like doing anything.
Oseguera Cervantes, alias El Mencho, the leader of the CJNG cartel. During the operation, El Mencho was killed, which triggered heavy fighting between the Mexican government and the CJNG cartel throughout the afternoon. So far, most of the heavy fighting has been observed in Guadalajara and Puerto Vallarta.
What is the cope maxing going on in the chat about being divorced? Like people think that all marriages get divorced because they saw some stat on Reddit or X or something. The amount of like secular divorces that happen is like 50%. If you get remarried, that goes up to like 60%. But if you're white, Christian, go to church, the divorce rate is 10%. 10%. So the black pilling, the gay stuff, if you're white, first time married, go to church, 10%. 10%, okay?
Vallarta, two cities which have historically served as CJNG strongholds. Immediately after Mencho's death, the CJNG forces declared a general mobilization throughout Jalisco, which encompasses most of their territory. Most of the fighting throughout the afternoon took the form of knee-jerk rapid response elements engaging Mexican authorities with small arms and crew-served weapons, mostly via skirmishes in the street in various small towns scattered throughout the district. Violence is not confined to just Jalisco. Burning vehicles were observed in the town of Reynosa, just across the border from McAllen, Texas. Throughout the evening, a more organized and substantial deployment was undertaken, with heavier weapons and armored vehicles being deployed to engage government.
No, I forget what the divorce rate is among East Asians, but I think theirs is pretty decent as well. But and by go to church, I mean like are actively participating in church, like actively participating in church. Not I'm Christian, right? Because everybody's Christian, right? But if you actively go to church on a weekly basis, your chances of divorce go to almost nothing.
Forces throughout the region. In the town of Puerto Vallarta, combat actions were reported throughout the afternoon, with CJNG briefly holding the city for some time. Within a few hours, government forces rolled in hard with air support, pushing CJNG out of the city, or at least out of the fighting positions on the street, by nightfall. Throughout the countryside, many roads are impassable due to cartel forces digging anti-tank ditches across the roadway, and placing roadblocks, and otherwise digging in for what they perceive to be a drawn-out fight. Analyst comments for this wire. Throughout much of Mexico, the situation can be described as a state of pandemonium and chaos. There's no way to determine front lines or...
Now... Mexican deltas, not the same, right? So you see a delta patch, you think that's cool. Not so much. That's like an M&P Sport 2 with no sights on it. Not quite as effective, surprisingly.
or centers of gravity at the moment, as all of the violence observed throughout the afternoon is representative of whatever combat power local CJNG cells had at their safe houses. El Mencho was the patriarch of the CJNG, and more of a grandfather figurehead of the cartel family than an operational leader. As one might expect, killing a Sicaria's grandfather in such a manner has dialed the violence up to 11. As soon as word got out that El Mencho was dead, everyone grabbed their rifles and started shooting at whatever Mexican authorities were in their area. The next few days will probably see even more organized violence as cartel leadership organizes more significantly for combat actions in the long term. Since the CJNG cartel has been allied with the Gulf Cartel for some time, violence has continued right up to the US border. Due to the rapid breakout of war throughout the region, most entities were not expecting small arms engagements on a peaceful Sunday afternoon. Cities known for heavy tourism industry are directly in the center of much of the fighting, with off-season tourists being caught in the middle of the conflict. As a reminder, Guadalajara is scheduled to host the 2026 FIFA World Cup this summer, and right now...
Well, that could be fun, dude. Imagine there's the FIFA World Cup, which is soccer. I know, gay. But imagine they're playing with gunfire and explosions and fire in the background. Could be a fun, interesting World Cup. Dude, imagine like the cartel hitting like a foreign team's, wherever they're staying, right? Their dorms or something like that, like hitting like the Argentina team or something like that. Jeez.
Cartel's bringing back the Aztec way of soccer, just kicking heads around.
Kill the losing team, yeah.
Many high-level soccer matches have brought scores of tourists and sports fans to the exact district that is now host to heavy fighting. Guests at the many tourist resorts scattered throughout the region suddenly found their afternoon cocktail hour interrupted by...
I'm pretty sure this is the plot to one of the old Splinter Cell games, right? The 1 or 2, where you're down in South America doing something.
Gunfire and shrapnel, and throughout the evening most civilians throughout the region spent many hours sheltering in place or fleeing the area if they could. The U.S. State Department has issued shelter-in-place orders for the following areas: Puerto Vallarta, Chapala, Guadalajara, Tijuana, Tecate, Ensenada, Cancun, Cozumel, Playa del Carmen, and Tulum. Concerning evacuations, the Guadalajara airport has been closed until further notice while the conflict continues on the ground in the vicinity of the airport. Most embassies have urged their citizens in central Mexico to shelter in place until the fighting subsides and more information becomes available. Travel by road anywhere in Mexico is subject to being caught up in checkpoints and random roadblocks, either by government forces or the cartels themselves. More information is expected throughout the day as the sunrise affords the opportunity for battle damage assessment for the engagements that took place overnight. This concludes the wire for 1100 Zulu, February 23rd.
Right. So that's kind of the situation as it's unfolding. Expect more violence, right? Expect more Mexican cartel violence. And allegedly, they will be doing things here in the U.S. as well. Let me pull this. So on the topic of El Mencho, let me pull it up so you guys can see it. On the topic of El Mencho was just the royal figurehead for CJNG. It was already an open secret that he didn't run anything anymore because he was very old and living in retirement. But he was still widely beloved in our group to the point CJNG would kill anyone mocking or joking about him online as a rule. So the US and Mexico killing him only accomplished pissing us off into full insurgency mode. So yeah, Mexican Civil War now, considering we're already seizing everything in Jalisco. And yes, CJNG will be doing 100% be doing massive terrorism operations on US soil. Because that's just how we operate. So will this be an excuse to get us into another foreign conflict, even though it's with Mexico, our neighbors, and to once again be another gay distraction to destabilize the West? Who knows? We have even more footage, wild footage of people fleeing. And again, keep in mind, in Mexico, there's really not a right to self-defense. They don't have gun laws like we do. They don't have the Second Amendment like we do. There's only one gun store, and it's literally run by the federal government. Although, if the Iranian, it's a great picture on the right. If the cartels did do some mass casualty event in the US, Americans would actually support a war eradicating the cartels much more than they would some Middle Eastern dust up with Iran and Israel. Like, honestly, who cares about those two? Let's just wipe out Mexico. Sorry, I mean wipe out the cartels in Mexico. That'd be a little disconcerting if I was in a passenger airline getting ready to take off. I'd be a little concerted. Yeah, people sitting down trying to avoid gunfire. Now, I'm going to put that one off for just a second. That one's the most graphic one that we have. I'm sure a lot of you guys have already seen that. Violence erupted in Puerto Vallarta following reports that a senior cartel leader was killed during a Mexican federal operation. Authorities confirmed that multiple vehicles were set on fire and several key roads were blocked amid the unrest. So literally the cartel setting up checkpoints and digging in for some sort of elongated fight, I suppose you could say, but you can see the even more damage taken from outside of the city as, you know, sporadic fighting or just burning vehicles or causing obstructions, stuff like that. American hostages makes this interesting. Yeah, that could be a possibility. Could be a possibility.
As it is right now. So I don't know if you can see that, but I can see the flames underneath that black smoke. Major flames there. Huge plumes everywhere. Another big...
Yeah, now is probably not a good time to be in a resort. It's funny. This beach looks more white than the beaches in America because it's at a resort. This beach is actually more white than our own beaches. That's very funny. That's a little silly.
One over there. Another one directly behind this resort we're staying at. pretty much surrounded by this right now. Really intense scene happening here in Port.
Maybe Mexico is the real Agartha, right? We're just all going to take a trip down there to a resort. There's just a Mexican resort called Agartha.
Airports are shut down as it is right now. And as I understand it, military may be getting involved soon. Power may be cut very soon. So pray for us, guys. This situation is intense.
Dude, that guy straight up Gen X maxing, sunburn maxing on a Mexican beach during a cartel civil war. Now, this is the most... Well, before we get to that, we have one more. Before we get to the graphic video. So now this is claiming that CJNJ fighters are storming the Guadalajara airport. Eyewitnesses report the gunmen have begun taking hostages and executing civilians. This has not been confirmed as of this post. If true, absolutely insane, right? Remember, no Mexican. Which, yeah, I mean, all right. Could be an international incident if you have some American citizens in cartel hands. That would probably be a Venezuela 2.0. It's like, listen, cartel guys, you know that one post of the brown lady saying, oh, listen, the U.S. military doesn't want to mess with the cartels. It's like, all right, good luck with that. Anyways, send in the Deltas and the 160th, all right? And then we'll just sort them out. Vacation maxing troop. All right. Well, yeah, wasn't that a thing, actually? Let me see. Where is it? Hendo knows. Mexico City has a rich white people problem. Yeah, Mexicans in Mexico City are like, what are all these damn white people doing in my city? Got to get rid of these damn whites coming in and polluting up our beautiful Mexico City. Too many white folk moving here. Dang it, taking up all the land from us browns. So racist, dude. They need to be welcoming us in with open arms. Anyways, so now this is a little yucky. So I hope that YouTube doesn't clap me for this. But that man apparently has a projectile lodged in his lower lip. How it got there and stopped there without going further is a absolute miracle, 1 in a million shot. Went off of his gun, through a wall, something, allegedly during the fighting.
Hijo de su puta madre, güey. Casi me carga la verga, ¿viste? Mira. Me pelaron la verga, güey. ¿Tiraste?
I mean, you can see he's shaken. He's a little, he's got a lot of adrenaline. He's still up. He's still doing good. He's still functioning, but you can tell that his body's like, something's off, something's wrong, but there's enough adrenaline in me. I'm going to keep doing my thing. All right. I'm powering through. I'm just being a man. Now give him like a half hour to an hour and maybe he won't be feeling that same way. But right now he's doing okay. There's enough adrenaline to keep him going. Wound maxing.
Me pelaron la verga,
with arms wide open. Yeah. Is his lip made out of the same thing as Charlie's neck? Maybe. But I mean, a bullet would have to be going so slow at that point. And I wonder if that's real, right? If that's actually what happened there. The bullet just lodged in his lower lip or lodged into his jaw, his teeth behind it. I wonder if he's going to have like serious problems. Because even getting hit in the face by like what is essentially a rock going several hundred FPS at that point, lodging into your skin and into your, jaw. Not a good day, all right? I don't want to be his dentist. Ricochet round, yeah. Probably, right? Because it almost looks like it landed sideways in his face. If you look at it, it almost looks like it kind of went in a little bit, but almost went in from like a strange angle. It's like a sideways hit to his jaw there. But listen, if you got to get shot in the head, probably one of the best ways to get shot in the head. All right. Wow. He is going to be feeling it for sure. Now, speaking of cringe retards, not this guy. Guy's doing good. But what about the White Panther Party? Just like the White Panther Party. Is this like a based Black Panther alternative? No, of course not, because we're on r/leftist. but this is the White Panther Party. Now, I do have to say, Richard, if you look at that Panther, he looks retarded, right?
A little bit, yeah.
That Panther has some extra chromosomes floating around in there. He's looking a little special, which is, as your mascot, maybe a little ironic, I guess, that you drew your own mascot retarded. But yeah, the Tism Panther.
The claws. It's got one too many claws, I think.
Well, it's got 5 and 5. It looks weird, but yeah, it's 5 and 5. They just, again, it just looks special. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, I mean, if they're supposed to have 4, whatever. All right, whoever's drawing this probably has the extra chromosomes. All right, so let's talk about join the White Panther Party on r/leftist. No more watching, no more waiting, no more talking. The time for action is now. The greatest obstacle to revolution in America has been and continues to be the white working class. Dun, dun, dun. You mean the people that literally make everything run? They're the obstacle. They're the evil ones. Ignore the billionaire pharmaceutical industries, the pedophiles in Hollywood, the porn max or rabbis or anything else like that. And ignore the financial elite or the political elite. It's the working class white guy. It's the welder down the road. He's the problem. All right. No person on earth is the subject of more manipulation and the target of more propaganda than the white American worker. Join with me in building a grassroots organization that will finally take our white working brothers and sisters to the struggle, which is not only theirs to suffer, but ours. Act now, for history shows us the future belongs to those who seize it. Well, I agree with that last part. The primary goal of the White Panther Party to build revolutionary class solidarity with the local working class white communities through community service, engagement, and defense, educate, organize, mobilize to serve the White Panthers is to serve the people, which comes in many forms: volunteerism, activism, community service, community defense, etc. Yes, white people, you need to come and defend the Browns. Die for Browns. Die for Israel or die for Browns. Take your pick. Bring more power to more people by supporting local causes, work closely with local groups, organizations, and activists. The functions of the White Panther Party: organize, mobilize, educate, operate within local working class white communities. Subvert them, you say. Establish free services and social programs that address the specific needs of the local white working community to highlight systemic failures by the system. It's so funny. They've ran out of groups to pander to that they're forced to pander to you, Whitey, last of all, right? I guess we got to pander to the whites at some point. We've become so unpopular. Our numbers are so low that now we've begun pandering to white people. Tragic how far the left has fallen. Let's see. Provide political education opportunities, workshops, and town halls to engage, teach, and learn from the community. Outreach efforts to local left-wing militias, revolutionary groups, workers' unions, radical groups, and student groups to form a working coalition, united groups. Now, maybe this would be better in a different voice. Let me know how this one is.
For you, Richard. Does this one work? I feel like this is more appropriate for the subject matter. All right, fundraise in the community and online for money to support the people's programs and build revolution. Demonstrate armed solidarity with the Black Lions, formerly Black Panthers, Black Lions, to protect local neighborhoods. The White Panther Party replaced a system that wasn't designed to serve us with one that is. Give the people the power to decide their future, such as AI regulation, climate protections, energy production, and surveillance. The immediate end of corporate control over the political system, remove money from politics, a well-funded quality education system, real affordable healthcare, and close the gap in health and wealth disparity by redistributing the wealth of billionaires. Does the voice sound good? Hello, hello, hello? You guys like that? All right, meow.
This just reads like another communist manifesto.
I mean, basically, it's just catering to white people now. It's like, I think at some point they have to realize that the real political power, if you're going to have some sort of grassroots movement, they have to get white people in on it. They have to at some point, because I mean, we're still the largest voting bloc. We're still the largest people group in the country. And so you really can't affect real change without us, no matter how much you hate us. Okay. So I get it. I get the pandering and the being gay, but
well, the Stop ICE movement didn't have any momentum at all until they got white women involved.
Well, women in general are the most effective tool of propaganda because they're, one, easily propagandized, but then they can infect other people, right? So they can affect change within their husbands or communities because they're more respected. Like if a black woman is speaking, like, let's be real, nobody cares. If a hot white girl's talking, some of you simps in the chat are going to say would right away. Yeah, catering to white people. You have to cater to white people to take away from white people. That's what you do. To subsidize the browns, you got to take away from the whites. That's just how it goes sometimes. Repeal the 19th. Bro, there ain't going to be any amendments left when we're done, dog. There can't be, all right? We're not talking about removing some amendments here, okay? The whole thing is getting replaced. Yes, it's just lefty progressive nonsense. When in reality, the reality of what happens to these people or what they actually think about you is not, you should not be joining some lefty progressive group. You should be joining something else, something alternative, something interesting. Now, this is a little bit problematic. We're into the rage bait section of the stream 3 hours in. This is from Brandy Cruz. A graphic warning: 2 students beat a girl senseless at Lucille Umbagar Middle School in Burlington, Washington. Burlington used to be a nice city. After demanding to know whether she supports Trump and ICE, she told them it was none of their business. Police are involved. More today on our live show at 12 p.m. The video is hard to watch, but the victim and her mother wanted us to release it. It was circulated widely among students. This happened last week. The family is unhappy with how the schools handled it because the school are cucks. The schools are prison facilities for your children. They're indoctrination facilities for your children. So when a white girl gets beat by 2 brown students, they don't care. That's supposed to happen. That's part of the indoctrination process. You went against the cultural norms. You went against what was considered right think within the system, and you get punished for it. So they'll slap on the wrist the 2 brown girls, but they don't care. They don't care. If the situation was reversed, of course, they would. But no, a white girl getting beat by 2 browns is not a problem within their paradigm. It's good, actually. She's learning. That'll teach her next time she tries to go against the system. We'll literally beat them into submission. And there's nothing that these types hate more than like a young, attractive, blonde girl who doesn't support them. Nothing is more offensive to them than beauty, especially if it happens to be a white person, which, I mean, let's be real, is most of it. Now, I hope that there is going to be some sort of GoFundMe. I hope there's going to be some sort of setup for them. Bring back segregation. Based pilled? Wine moms being based? Based wine moms. That's the future of the country. All right. It's going to be a right-wing party. It's going to be 50% wine moms. That's what it's going to be. But I do hope that there's some sort of GoFundMe set up for the girl and to get her out of that school. Because listen, all right, if they end up seeing this at some point, get your kids out of public school. Ostracize your kids. You're going to make them feel weird and left out. Or you can have them beat senseless by a couple of evil children indoctrinated by their own parents in the system. It's like, the choice is pretty simple to me. You're never going to public school. Ha-ha! What's to like about high school? You're going to be taught how to be a gay, retarded communist. No thanks. No thank you. Now, this is the inverse of that. This is... Man. France used to be cool, okay? The Franks used to be fighters, used to be conquerors. And now, you don't even protect your own people. Deal with the traitors before the invaders. True. I'm sorry your daughter was raped by a retarded cannibal, but he's had a hard life, which is a defense that has been used. It's like, well, I mean, extenuating circumstances are that he had a rough upbringing, or he's actually too stupid to stand trial. Have you considered, ma'am, that your son got killed by somebody who was too stupid to stand trial? Have you thought about that, ma'am? Have you considered the perpetrator's feelings in all of this? Sorry about your dead son, but have you considered the perpetrator's feelings in all of this? So, breaking, a French court rules that the 67-year-old Senegalese migrant Ousmane Diallo can't be held criminally responsible for killing 18-year-old Theo. Osman became furious in a mobile phone shop after having been told he would have to pay $93 for calls made to Senegal. Yeah, you're calling international and your plan doesn't support that. You owe us $93. And then he stabs Theo in the chest, a worker there, 18 years old, on one of his first days on the job. The court ruled that Osman is mentally ill and will be sent to a psychiatric hospital until he recovers. Until he recovers? What are you talking about? Until he recovers? No. This person's getting put down like a dog for, first off, attacking, but secondly, killing a French citizen, a French person, right? That would be the just thing to happen. This person gets put down immediately. He murdered a young man just starting his life, just starting his, a career. He's working a retail job. We know that retail jobs suck. Retail jobs suck a lot more when you have to deal with these types of people. Stabbed in the chest, bleeds out, dies, and the guy, 57-year-old, not French, should not be there at all, gets sent to a psychiatric hospital to recover. You know who doesn't get to recover? That would be 18-year-old Theo. Theo does not get to recover. And it's not until, and I know that there have been some base things happening in France with some of the nationalist riots and things going on there. It's not until people go out and change the leadership from the top down, which means you have to remove all of the judges from their positions, right? Of course, legally. Of course. You have to remove all of the judges. You have to remove all the people in power. You have to deport all of these people. And yeah, as the original poster says here, deal with the traitors before invaders. If you have 2 invaders and 1 traitor and 2 bullets, you shoot the traitor twice. That will send a message, send a very effective message that we don't put up with this anymore. We don't put up with this anymore. Now, in our own country, things are not far off, right? We see stories like this basically every day, unfortunately. Rural village of Citra, Florida, in shock over brutal killing of 3-year-old girl. Police say Paisley Brown, 3, was beaten to death by her mother's boyfriend, Jaron Coombs, 32. Coombs is currently only facing aggravated child abuse. Again, put down like a dog. Put down like a dog immediately. No questions asked. Unmarked grave. No grave, right? I don't know. Spread his ashes at the nearest 7-Eleven. I don't care. Reading up on this story, it is unfortunate that the toll was paid by the daughter and not by the mother, right? The innocent, pure child murdered by an animal. Mother of 3-year-old killed in Marion County trailer under investigation. Investigation, you say? Deputies are looking into the actions of the mother of Citra, of a Citra 3-year-old who they say was beaten to death by the mother's boyfriend, and considering her charging her as well. She should be, of course. A spokesman for the sheriff's office confirmed the mother, who isn't being named because she currently is not facing any charges, was not at home when the punches were thrown at Paisley Brown by Jerome Combs. However, Paisley's hands and feet were bound overnight, which Combs told deputies was punishment for messing with her diaper, according to his arrest report. Both of them put down immediately, right? My daughter is 3 years old. If something like this happened to my daughter, that man, his family, the judge, all of them die. Every single one of them, right? I mean, that's that would be the just thing to happen in some sort of Minecraft scenario in the future where John has ultimate control of his destiny. Deputies say Paisley's mother was home during that time. Paisley's mother was home. We're being told that she left that morning to go run some errands. The report said that one of those errands was getting her nails done. Getting your nails done while your animal boyfriend beats your daughter to death. Put her down. Like, it's the obvious, put her down. Put them both down. Both down. Spread their ashes at the local Popeyes. I don't care. After Coombs called the mother and showed her the unresponsive toddler over FaceTime, the report said the mother finished her appointment before going home. Coombs was the primary caretaker of the couple's kids, deputies said. However, neither Coombs nor the mother called 911 for 40 minutes after they knew about Paisley's condition. The report said the mother called a witness who was on their way to the trailer and told them to stay away. The witness continued anyways and found Paisley on the floor with two adults standing over. The witness rendered aid, and they told deputies and called 911. Somebody else has to call aid for your daughter. Somebody else has to administer aid to your daughter. I can't understand how that woman is not facing charges. And again, if it were up to me, we teach 4-year-olds call 911 immediately for his emergency. There's no reason to delay, Bloom said. I can tell you again, as a lieutenant, I don't understand. As a father, I have less understanding as to why. He's being far too kind to these animals. Other children at the home told deputies the abuse was not a one-off instance and recalled being handcuffed and beaten as punishment. Deputies said that would be part of their investigation. DCF declined to answer whether their agents have been called to the family in the past. A woman on scene told deputies she contacted the agency about ongoing abuse at the household years ago. Man, I hate the state getting involved in children's lives and taking them away from the parents, but where there's just obvious abuse, this stuff should just be immediate, right? This stuff should just be immediate. Did she know she was aware of this? These are things that will, I believe, pan out in this investigation, Bloom said. We will have answers to those questions. WFTV reached out to the mother on Friday, but did not hear back. Coombs will remain in the Marion County Jail on no bond. Well, at least he's not out and about to murder one of their other children or one of the other children living at the home, because, of course, it's not his. So, and I will say, there is somewhere out there a white father who is partially responsible for what happened. Absolutely. Without question, without doubt. Who is partially responsible for his daughter being murdered by the animal and being allowed to be in that scenario by the animal. Now, you can blame the court system as well. That probably ruined him in the divorce or in any sort of separation, that he was forced to pay alimony when he might not even have been able to get full custody or partial custody because the court system is stacked against men. But I think that there is still some sort of culpability there, especially if he could be involved, if he could have known, if he could have gotten them out, something, right? Because you always got to think maybe there was something he could have done, even if the odds are stacked against him. But the odds are he was probably just a piece of shit. Yeah. I mean, listen, I'm not letting the man off the hook just because I don't know. The man was probably a piece of shit, but we don't know. That's my assumption, because like even if he was tangentially involved in his child's life, he should have known. And if he had reported it to authorities, he probably could have gotten custody, but he probably didn't care enough. He probably didn't care enough to find out. I agree he was probably screwed over, but again, if I got screwed over and, you know, I would fight for custody of my children, I would fight for visitation of my children, I would do whatever I could. And if I had even a hint of suspicion that something untoward was happening to one of my children, I would be calling the cops every day until they did something, right? Or do something myself. All right. Well, I will save this last bit of rage bait because that's a good place to end. That's a good place to end. That's a good place to call it quits for rage bait. The other story is not quite so heavy, so I don't feel like changing tone after that. We'll save that last bit of rage bait for some other time. Lightspore for 2 says, hear me out, an American Lightning Party, like Lightning McQueen, like Cars. Yeah, the American Cars Party. Thank you, Lightspore. Appreciate that. Over on, I think there was one on Ko-Fi that came through. Let me pull this up. Over on Ko-Fi, Joshua Howard says, this is really fake and really gay. I think in reference to the Mar-a-Lago incident or possibly the Nevada power station incident. But yeah, Richard, what do you got going on, homie?
Oh, I've got some clips coming out tomorrow evening. And for those not aware, if you didn't catch last week, I did create one of my own channels, and I'll be doing some videos and some streams and stuff coming up on that here pretty soon. So if you guys want to go over and subscribe to that, it'd be greatly appreciated.
Well, you got to give me the link. You can't just tell them. Nobody's going to be able to find a channel with like 75 subs. You know, got to send me the link, and I can actually give them the link, right?
I got it right here. Is this it? Yes. Oh, wrong one.
All right. Well, I'm going to send you guys. I'm going to send you guys over to American First over on Rumble. Because again, I'm supposed to rate everybody over there. So fine, I'll send you over there to America First. If you think it's cringe and gay, that's fine. But with all that out of the way, gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Keep your friends close, keep your family close, pray for your friends and family, check in on the homies as always. God bless, Godspeed. We'll see you next week, or Wednesday actually. Christ is King.